If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We stand for Queen,
country, and video games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
better accents. Hello, and indeed, ahoy hoy, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a show that probably isn't best described as BRB UK. Well, most of the people in it are kind of from the UK-ish. One of them's kind of British by marriage to Tim. The other one's a former colony. Hello, Canada. And so why not? Screw it, it's BRB UK E3 edition. We are going to cover all kinds of things, and that's the royal we, because I haven't been able to catch up with the strings, but I'm going to leave you in the hands, the very capable hands and vocal cords of many a fine folk who have often put their faces in front of a microphone and twaddled on in the name of BRB. So, this show is about E3 2018, and we'll cover the Xbox, Bethesda, Square Enix, Ubisoft, PlayStation, and Nintendo streams, and probably other stuff that wasn't even talked about as well. Sound good? I think so. I'm gonna listen. You better listen. Let's be listening buddies. Take it away!
You'll get something I know a lot of you have been asking for.
It's Royale. Hello, and indeed, ahoy hoy, we are back, and a nice big episode for you on Big Red Barrel. This is going to be our E3 special, so we'll be covering all the press conferences and a little bit more of the news that has come out of E3. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined by two fellow colleagues that I don't normally get to actually podcast with, so this will be nice. Mr. Bleezey, hello sir.
The ban has been lifted since last time.
We've decided to let you back. This is your one chance.
I'm not going to derail this one, apart from I totally will.
It's nice to have you back. And Mr. Smash Soul, sir, I'm delighted to be podcasting with you.
It's only been 200 and something episodes since I was last on, but I'm glad to be back.
We should have to get you on more often in the future, especially as you're our lone Scotland representative these days.
I know.
Good to have you both on. We'll have to crack on a little bit because we've got a lot to cover in a short space of time. I think it'll be the same team covering Microsoft's press conference tomorrow as well, so we'll have a little bit more time to get into things then as well.
Go Team Green.
But yeah, for now, what were your overall impressions of the EA press conference?
I guess what I would say is it was a typical EA conference. Like, it had the sports, which were the lows, and it had the indie titles, which were the highs, and then it had the two AAAs sort of somewhere in the middle. So some highs, some really low lows.
There weren't so much highs as like getting back to where they started, and then it went down again. We were saying just before we recorded, there was a point where both me and Alex were watching it in the same place, and we sort of tuned out at one point, and then it was like we sort of both came back at the same moment, and we're like, did we actually miss anything? We stopped listening, but we don't know if we actually missed anything.
Coleman, I think, it also did fall asleep at one point as well. But I don't think that was any of your guys' fault. I think that was the style of press conference. I think it was not necessarily massively disappointing, but underwhelming to the point of boredom, I think, is the problem with the press conference overall. Let's concentrate on some of the positive aspects, though. What were your high points? Smash Soul, what was your high point of the conference overall?
Anthem was up there. Also, I'm a big Battlefield fan, and I was looking forward to this.
Yes.
And also, Sea of Solitude looks really quite good as well.
I thought it was a little bit disappointing for you that they went, hey, Battlefield 2, it's a thing, and we're going to tell you stuff about it. But also, if you want to really know something about it, Microsoft press conference tomorrow. It's like, what?
I think that actually does show the interest did immediately wane, because it's actually Battlefield 5, not Battlefield 2. But
right, yes.
Fairly similar to Smash, so I love Battlefield. It is one of my core games, along with Halo, that like I will always go back to. I will always find time for it. And I tried to get as much from that trailer as possible. But when they didn't do what they usually do, which was show a multiplayer match, show how it evolves, show some of the new stuff, I was just trying to pick it up from the trailers. And like the only reason I managed to pick anything up was because I have been reading up on it. I've been seeing interviews with people who have actually got to play it, and they've said, oh, there's this mechanic and this mechanic. And you see it in the trailer. However, if I hadn't previously read that, I would have never understood it.
Yeah, they did nothing to highlight it. I mean, the one bit of new information we did get about that was the fact they're going us too with the whole Royale mode type thing. But they didn't detail that in any way. They gave even less details on that than Call of Duty did, basically.
There were also like a couple concerns that I saw, which I don't know if you want to dive in now or later.
I'm trying to stay away from the negatives. There's a couple of other points I'm going to bring. So what was your personal big highlight of the overall show, basically?
I want to say Anthem. However, I think at the end of the day, it was still Battlefield. Even though they only gave me like about 5 minutes of info, that game has a grip on me. And so, yeah, I do love it, and I'm kind of looking forward to it, but Anthem was a very close second.
Anthem, for me, was probably the one game I'm most likely to buy from what they showed, basically. The one thing that I will highlight, because I know neither of you two really cared about it, but the fact that FIFA has got the Champions League is quite a big deal. But again, it was like an underwhelming surprise just because PES lost the Champions League, and they announced that earlier in the year. And I think the reason they announced that a little bit was to steal a bit of EA's thunder in the fact that they didn't get to announce it outside of knowing that PES had already lost it. There's only one other person that's going to pick it up and run with the ball kind of thing. I mean, even though that isn't allowed in football, just so you guys know.
I really wanted him to pick up the trophy. I don't know why, but I was just like, if he picks up the trophy, I will buy FIFA. I will buy FIFA tomorrow. But he didn't, because I also wanted him to like pick it up but immediately drop it.
Again, I'm trying to stay positive, but I think part of the problem of the overall conference was a lot of it seemed like it was padding for time. And a lot of it seemed like, well, just add this in and just kind of stretch that out as long as possible sort of thing.
There were definitely parts where they showed the same 10-second clip on a loop for 5 times.
Yes, and that seemed really odd. But again, trying to stay positive. The one piece of positive news that got me quite excited for something that I didn't know about going into the conference was when they came down and sat down, and you could tell it was sort of badly prepared. They didn't even have a logo to put up with the announcement of the name, but they kind of went to Vince Ampella of Respawn Entertainment and kind of got the title for the game that they're working on in the Star Wars universe, which is going to be, and they didn't necessarily say Star Wars, but I assume that's going to be Star Wars : Jedi Fallen Order, and it's going to take place between the third and fourth films. And yeah, like they kind of hinted it's in the dark times and all that type of stuff. So that sounded interesting, at least. But I guess that was possibly the biggest surprise, and therefore possibly the best thing to take away from it.
I'm sure they did have that planned. However, it still looked like Vince Ampella was not prepared, and he was like, oh yes, we have this, and I don't want to say it. That was a point where I was just like, I do quite like, they're at least mixing it up. They're not just trying to do person on stage, talks, moves off.
He did kind of tease a couple of days ago, I think, on his way to E3, that he would be announcing something at E3, but it wouldn't be much, and they didn't have anything major to show, basically. So, exciting just that they're working on a Star Wars game, and I like the fact that they're spreading the Star Wars around to other studios, and they did such an excellent job with the Titanfall 2 campaign that I'd really like to see them do something as interesting in the Star Wars universe as well.
There was definitely a look that me and Diarmuid gave each other, and it was, ooh, Titanfall 3, and then they were like, we know how much you love the Star Wars universe. I was like, oh no, this is not going where I wanted it to. And immediately it was like this, my attention went to maximum and then immediately dropped back down to normal.
Let's kind of run through the conference piece by piece and just kind of give a couple of details of what we saw and what our reactions to what we saw. So both of you seem pretty pleased for Battlefield 5. Jamie, that was one of your highlights you said as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Battlefield has always been a series that, like Bleezey, I'll just go back to again and again. And even though this one seems to be getting off to a rough start, you know, I'll stick with it. It's something near and dear to my heart. So I'm always going to be excited for more Battlefield.
The one thing that seemed a bit odd to me is that the whole getting a Royale mode thing seems a little odd, because they've always been a game of kind of a big battlefield, quite literally, and a lot of players at once. And it didn't seem that they really needed to step into that area themselves, no?
I'll be honest with you. I let out an audible groan when they said, hey, we're doing Battle Royale. It was like, can we not, just for 5 seconds, just
I made myself a drinking game where I was just like, in my head, I was like, if I hear Battle Royale, I'm going to finish whatever I'm drinking. I had just started my chosen beverage at the time, and they went, "Oh yeah, we're gonna add a Battle Royale mode," and I was just like, "Oh no, I must stay loyal to myself," and so I still did, but I did kind of think about it, and this is like not based on any information. However, I don't think it's gonna be as egregious. Or I don't think it could be as egregious as people think it will be, because the way that even in their trailer they showed like the guys parachuting out of the plane and the plane's getting blown up and then all getting split up and then they're in a forest and they don't know where they are. Like, I know it's for the multiplayer and the war stories. However, that kind of like dark not knowing who's around the next turn, it could actually work for a Battle Royale mode. It's like that you are on your own, you have no idea who's friend, who's foe kind of thing.
There's a certain thing that most people understand by a Royale mode in that, you know, you're all parachuting into one place and then having to search for supplies. Do you think that's what they meant by this, though? Do you think that's the elements that they'll add to a Royale mode? Or do you think they'll do their own sort of take on it?
I do imagine it would still start with, like, parachuting. However, you might have a pseudo cutscene, like I said, similar to the trailer, where maybe the plane blows up. Like, as soon as you jump, even though other players may be in that plane, like, on their screen, your plane blows up. And that's why you have to abandon and, like, jump out. I mean, like I said, I am speculating so hard right now. But, like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as, oh my god, it's like they're just doing it because everyone else is doing it kind of thing. It could feel natural if done a certain way.
Anyway, moving on. I know you guys don't want to move into this area, but then they did FIFA. Now, one thing with FIFA is at least they had developers of the game on stage, and they didn't sort of dig out an old football fan that no one at the conference cared about, and they didn't dig out two idiots that no one had ever heard of to do apparent football comedy in inverted commas.
No, they did that later.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen, but it's still going on now. They're doing the kind of the World Cup thing. It seems quite realistic because England got absolutely spanked by Germany and knocked out of the competition. So seems like a realistic game. They seem to have done well there. But yeah, I mean, it was. They also had a kind of a dig at the English football team because it seems one of the devs is Icelandic, but they've put the Icelandic celebration in the thunderclap thing, which I don't know if that means anything to you guys at all, but it is one of the most awesome celebrations in football, and it makes more sense that that's in there because one of the devs is actually Icelandic as well. So, okay, that makes sense now, kind of thing. But a cool thing to put in. And as I said before, the addition of the actual Champions League is a good addition that actually makes me more keen to play the game as well. And I imagine there are a lot of FIFA fans that were really pleased by that. That is all the FIFA I will bore you with for today, though. That's all right, guys. We're okay.
We had one in the room, and I asked if they'd shown FIFA 18, would you have been able to tell the difference? He went, no, but I'm still excited. And I was just like, at that point, I then realised I can't actually say anything because, you know, Battlefield 5 has just come before. And so I'm like, oh, fair play. Just leave it there then.
It does seem like they make a few more changes there, but it's more the updates to the teams. I'm so surprised they haven't gone along to the model of just having a regular update. It's nice that they've actually gone over to giving the World Cup away for free. They also announced that the game would be for free this weekend, which I thought was quite a nice move until someone on Twitter, I think Angry Joe, commented the fact that, yeah, they're only doing that because they get so much in the microtransactions that they're probably experimenting to see who will come in and just give them more money. And I could actually see them possibly giving away FIFA for free if they can carry on getting their microtransactions. They seem to mention the lack of loot boxes. They didn't mention that the FIFA Ultimate Team would be going anywhere, so I think that's here to stay for as long as it's not declared illegal. But anyway, right, as I said, that's drawing a line under FIFA. Let's move on. They then confused me a little bit. Did either of you particularly understand what they were talking about with the EA Play streaming thing going on?
At first, I was a little bit confused. I think I've got my head around it. Because they were chatting, like, they were making a lot of analogies between, like, streaming your favourite movies and shows and stuff. And so what I took this as was EA Access on consoles.
Yeah.
It's going to have, instead of downloading the game, they're going to have, for certain games, a streaming service. And I assume it would be the smaller games, for example, like, I don't know, A Way Out or one of the other, like, smaller single-player games. Like, I don't think you're going to see, like, a FIFA or Battlefield or anything on there because they're fairly intensive on bandwidth, and also the multiplayer component might break things.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just seemed a bit weird. Like, we've already got the PlayStation Now service. A lot of people made the kind of on-live comparison, but PlayStation Now is already there. And I'm more worried with this that we'll see, and I think Coleman and I were discussing at the time, that we'll see the developers just getting their own service every time and not kind of... and to sort of, not having a platform exclusive service, but having a thing per service and having to sign into EA, having to sign into Ubisoft. And that is a future I am afraid of and do not want. But anyway. Right, then also Battlefront 2 is kind of where we went from there. They talked about the prequels. They showed a picture of General Grievous. They talked about some other people that they're adding to it. And they talked about the prequels. And I'm like, you already had the prequels in. I already played a bit of that. What the hell are you talking about? I already played in Theed Palace with the robot things and stuff. What the hell are you talking about?
The prequels are underrated, as far as I'm concerned. I am so happy that I'll be able to play on Geonosis as Grievous or Dooku, or Anakin, or Obi-Wan. It's saying something when the fans want the prequels again. We're at that stage.
I didn't play that much of Battlefront 2. Did you play a lot of it, Smashol, or did you play... I mean, because I played a bit and bounced off it a bit, but...
I played the EA Access trial for the 8 hours that I had it and went, okay, yeah, cool, that's me. Had my fill with this, don't need to pay for it now. It had its problems, it really did, and they admitted that.
I did quite like that, actually. That seemed like a genuine sincerity, like there was genuine sincerity in the guy's voice when he came out and he went, listen, Battlefront 2, we made some missteps and we have been consistently working to improve that. And at the time, I kind of went, oh, well, EA admits they're wrong kind of thing. And then, the longer he spoke, the more you kind of go, well, actually, I do kind of feel for the guy because, he was one of the lead developers, right?
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't attribute a lot of that blame to DICE. I attribute more of it probably to EA pushing them in the wrong direction and at least, kind of admitting that's wrong. Anyway, we are running a bit long for time, so let's keep on cracking on. And we haven't even touched two of the kind of things that made people really happy. Yanni is back in the Unravel and Unravel 2, a kind of co-op adventure of kind of the two of you kind of getting together. I have learned through Twitter, though, that apparently it does not have online co-op. So slight warning for people there. It does apparently only have local co-op. Seems that you could play the game on your own if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, look, that was a nice surprise. I like it when they do it at these conferences that they have, and this game is available today, and that was quite cool. We also, in the kind of, I don't know why they only did 2 of these, because they really could have done with a bit more of this, and it would have filled the conference a bit better as well. But they had Unravel 2, which I said was out, and Sea of Solitude, which I think we all kind of liked the look of. Really nice graphical style. It's a game about loneliness. They didn't get too much into how that actually works, and they didn't really show too much of the gameplay, so I'd be interested to see more on that. But again, it was a developer talking passionately about her project, and the more developers they can get on stage doing that, I think the better for them, basically. And yeah, again, interesting game, and possibly one of the best highlights of the actual show, just in the fact that it was actually a surprise. They referred to it as SOS, or Sea of Solitude as the full title. Yeah, and that definitely looked interesting.
One thing I will say about Sea of Solitude is if they can nail the concept of loneliness the same way a game like Hellblade nailed the concept of psychosis, then I think EA have really got a winner on their hands.
I know the information is pretty... There's not a lot of it at the moment, but even in the trailer, you could kind of see where it's going. Like, they had the 2 worlds kind of thing, and it kept switching between the 2. There's, the calm, sunny world, and I guess that's, when everything's going great. And then there's the almost, demon world, where the clouds are over, the waves have picked up, and the monsters are around.
Yeah, and one very sunny and light and kind of definitely, gives you a nice feeling, and the other one is kind of oppressive and dark and does the opposite as well. So very interesting in that regard, at least.
I did like the it was just in the trailer at the end. It was like at the point where they started chatting about, oh yeah, it's Sea of Solitude, but we've been calling it SOS. And then they just had the little boy with the bell ringing on it in the middle of the like ocean. I was just like, well, you know, that is what you associate with a call for help. And I was like, at that point, you're like, it has the potential to, like Smashdoll said, it has the potential to really, really nail it.
And they definitely seem to understand their subject matter as well. But right now, the next two we can really get through very quickly because I don't think any of us care about these, or I don't anymore at least. I don't mind a basketball game, but NBA 19 is probably the bottom of my list of like 3 potential basketball games that I'd be interested in. It'll be interesting to see if they actually get a basketball game out this year. They've kind of had their lunch eaten by 2K in the recent years, and I actually prefer the kind of the NBA Playgrounds approach, is it anyway, but the kind of more fun, silly NBA Jam style basketball games than the serious ones these days. I tried to play a serious one last year or the year before, and I found it way too impenetrable as a game, basically. I found that a bit too hard. And the same with Madden games as well these days. I used to really like them. I actually learned the rules of American football by playing a Madden game back on the Game Boy back in the day. But again, they seem just really, like, the more and more deep they've got in the sim side of things, the harder and harder they are for casual gamers or gamers like me that, like, wouldn't mind picking one up every couple of years. They seem harder and harder for me to get into, basically. Again, I might do at some point. I did jokingly say on Twitter that I'll only buy this year's Madden if I can take a knee before the game. But anyway, right. The one thing I think we want to try and get a little bit of talk about, because we haven't really mentioned at all, was the and I kind of correctly predicted this because they definitely deliberately didn't say the name of the game when they were showing it off, but they did talk about Command & Conquer Rivals, which is a Command & Conquer game on the mobiles. Now, I don't know, are either of you two particularly interested in mobile games in general? That's one question, but then also like an RTS game. This ticked all the wrong boxes for me, basically.
I was not interested at all. Like, it just lost me at that point.
This was the point where I think me and Alex fell asleep, because like, I've heard of Command & Conquer. I know it's an RTS, and that's about as far as it went. And so when they're like, oh yeah, do this to control the missile, and then you're basically just looking at people playing on their phones.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play Command & Conquer games back in the day. Jamie, did you? Or sorry, Smash Soul, did you? Or not particularly?
Again, I'm sort of in the similar boat as Bleezey. I think Command & Conquer might have been a bit before our time, maybe.
I'm showing my age here, possibly, but yeah, I used to quite like the games, and then I generally got bored of the kind of RTS formula, especially when it became just about like strict time management and kind of the control stuff, and it got further and further away from strategy games to the point where if I play a strategy game these days, I want like turn-based strategy so I can actually plan and make some strategy, and it's not just about literally the time management and stuff. So that turned me off a bit. The fact that it's on mobile turned me off a bit more. The fact that it's very kind of slimmed down and kind of just, you know, single screen type game, just it couldn't have been more wrong. And then on top of that, this was the one game they actually showed gameplay about at the conference and took time and had shoutcasters come out, and you're like, what the hell are you doing, EA? What are you doing? What?
Padding for time. That's what they were doing.
To its credit, they announced there like 2 players that came on, and I have no idea if they were like actual YouTubers or streamers or whatever. One person came on, all the developers came on, and just like, you know, oh, this is professional. And the other guy came on with the biggest smile on his face, and he smiled the entire way through. The picture they had of him was him like with the biggest smile, like he was having a great time. And I think that was the highlight of that whole section, was just how happy that guy was.
Right, just quickly, because again, we are over time, but basically, Anthem. This was the game I was most excited about. They kind of got a bit gazumped by the fact the most exciting thing that they could have probably said here was actually the release date, and that got leaked a few hours before they went on stage. So I'd already heard that February 22nd, 2019 was the release date. I feel really sorry for Days Gone, which have just announced their release date, and I think someone was saying it in the same day. I thought it was like 3 days apart, basically. I thought they were 3 days earlier. But either way, I'm now massively less interested in Days Gone because I'm pretty much definitely going to be picking up Anthem, and therefore I don't have time for 2 open world games in that short space of time. And they're really unlucky to plumb for for that date and then get so close to that, basically. I bet PlayStation aren't very happy about that either, basically.
I can see Days Gone getting delayed because of that, maybe. But speaking of Anthem, I mean, it's Destiny. Let's be real here.
It is Destiny. Even the bits where they were showing the people, like, where you're out of the mech suit, and, the javelins, they were calling them.
They're not mechs, they're definitely javelins, definitely.
I was just looking at that going, that could literally be swapped for the tower in Destiny, and I don't think people would notice. And then the other thing that I kept thinking was Destiny's new, latest expansion to come out, they have, like, this planet-saving weapon called the Javelin, and I was just like, oh no, how much do you reckon Anthem panicked when that happened?
But like you say, this could just literally be, oh, by the way, mechs are coming to Destiny. Here was the trailer kind of thing.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's okay. They look cool, they look good, and the kind of, they actually, like, I think it was really wrong in the way they presented it. Having the people talking and then showing the gameplay was the wrong way to do it. Instead of doing a shortened version of the gameplay, they should have had people playing the gameplay the whole time they were talking, and they should have been talking over that and adding detail to what was being shown so that we saw the whole gameplay element and also saw... Because I don't know about you, I think I know... They showed a bit more, and they said a bit more about the business model. I know more about the business model, but less about the actual game and the moment-to-moment gameplay of what I'm doing and how the game's structured. And the fact that it's actually coming out on 26th of February scares me a little bit, because that's very close, and they don't have much time to add more to that, basically, no?
I was going to say, I was just trying to think, did they actually explain, is it open world like Destiny, or is it mission-based, or... I don't actually think they covered it. No,
I don't think they really mentioned that. And the other thing that worries me is you saw them, there was a kind of base that was a kind of almost like attack-like or something, that you were kind of base of operations that you were going from. But you then just kind of got in your suit and flew for a short distance and then went to the ground. Now, that's going to be okay if it's like, well, this whole open world area is something you explore, you deal with a bit, and then the next time you come back, you can fly over that bit to get to somewhere else. But if it's just like literally you're flying over area of land that isn't really populated anything or doesn't have anything in it, then I don't see what that's really adding to the game. I mean, like the flight looked cool and that looked quite good, and then like dipping into the water looked good and exploring underwater, and I guess the whole water element is something that an underwater element and flight in general is not something that we've seen so much of in Destiny, and that is the kind of bits that they're adding to the equation, I guess.
The one thing I will say about Anthem is I'm excited for it. I'm really looking forward to it, but that was exactly the same thought I had with BioWare's last game, Mass Effect Andromeda, and it almost feels like history is repeating itself. We don't know much. They're very sort of secretive about it. And I'm worried the game is going to come out and it's just going to basically be Mass Effect Andromeda all over again.
Yeah, and they talked about the fact that like they go like, oh well, we're building it in such a way that we can add more story onto it. Now that was a nice thing to hear, the fact that they're planning story and story additions. If it's just the case of, hey, we've built this in such a way that we haven't really put that much of the game in it to start with, and if you want to buy story DLC every month, we're here for you, kind of thing. That's not. I don't think that's necessarily the great way to go with it. And as I said, like I just don't think. I don't think they presented it in the right way, and I don't think they gave us enough of the right sort of information and enough look at the gameplay to really understand the structure of the game. It does seem to be class-based. They talked about the Ranger, the Colossus, the Storm, or the Interceptor, which could be four of the most generic names ever given to things, almost kind of thing. I mean, they might as well call them light, medium, heavy, and something else. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't really seem that imaginative, and yeah, as I said, I'm very keen on it, and I think we all are. No, I think we're all planning on buying Anthem day one, probably. No,
and unless I see something that would seriously put me off, I feel like that's probably day one. However, like once again, like when we were watching it, we were trying to find things which weren't Destiny-like, and the only thing that I think we came up with was it's third person. And when we were going through, for example, Diarmuid would throw out, no, because it's not like Destiny, because it's the enemies don't have health bars, and literally the next shot is them targeting an enemy, and there's the red health bar.
And the numbers flying off them as well, and everything looked very Destiny-like as well, yeah.
I don't think it's a particularly bad thing. It's okay to evolve and iterate on something that's already there. However, they need to explain that. Otherwise, people are just going to look at it and go, that's Destiny.
Anyway, right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We are a bit over time. I think we all kind of got to the point of agreeing on generally what was going on there. As I said, slightly underwhelming, even if not massively disappointing, and no massive surprises. The other thing I mentioned is just the fact, and this is something that a lot of people on the internet kind of picked up on, is the stuff...
Where was Bad Company 3?
Well, that was the thing. There was so many things that they could have done to get a little bit of kind of groundswell of public opinion back on their side. A lot of people mentioned it was the 10-year anniversary of Dead Space. No mention of that. No mention of they could have just done a remaster or a drop of the trilogy or something. Anything to kind of please the fans of that. A lot of people were really hoping for Escape 4. That didn't come out as well, or no mention on that whatsoever. It just seemed a bit lacking in fan base surprises that could have got people back on board with them, basically.
It was very by the book, is how I feel it went.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We shall return very shortly, and very shortly for the people listening, with the Microsoft conference, which is coming up tomorrow. So we will return and get your thoughts on that, basically. Hopefully, that might be have a few more surprises in it and a few more games, although that could go badly too. So let's see. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll be back momentarily.
Welcome to Crackdown 3, the only game built like me. Big, beautiful, like a skyscraper, falling at your face. If you want to play on my level, follow my lead. Somebody give me my jam.
And we are back, and I am very excited to say that we have had a very, very interesting Microsoft press conference. I think it was exactly what they needed and exactly what we wanted. And let's just go for the overview, gentlemen. Were you happy with what you saw from Microsoft today?
I like to think of myself as the resident Xbox fanboy of Big Red Barrel, but I enjoyed what I saw, but I feel like they could have maybe gone a little bit further with the exclusives. Maybe just a tad.
Really, I thought they had a pretty good lineup for what they're able to get and what they're kind of able to do. And I think, what was it? They said 50 games overall, which I thought was a pretty high number to get in the hour and 40 minutes or so that they had. 18 exclusives and 15 world premieres. That is not bad. No, that is decent.
I can't fault them for that. The only thing is, Microsoft like to play fast and loose with the word exclusive. A lot of the games that you saw, it would say Xbox One and Windows 10 exclusive, and then it would say something like console launch exclusive, which means, it's coming out later on other things.
But I thought the console exclusives that they had for themselves were kind of what we knew about and what we thought would be coming, but hit pretty big as well. I mean, some of them hit on notes that hit well with me because they were based in London and more than one game based in the UK, basically. And that kind of worked, but I just thought they did pretty well in that. So let's dive straight into the games as well. I know this is one that you're very keen on, Bleezey, and I know this is one that made you happy. I thought it was a bit light on details, but we did see a nice trailer for Halo Infinite microtransactions. Halo Infinite. Sorry, slipped in a microtransaction there, but still.
Halo Infinite is... I came in, and if I'm honest, I missed half the trailer because I needed to go to the bathroom to start with, and I was like, they're never going to start with Halo.
You idiot!
As I walked in, Diarmuid went, I'm not trying to get your hopes up, but this is very Halo-esque music. And with that, the camera went from these weird space rhinos to the shot of a crashed Pelican's cockpit. I immediately gripped his arm and I went, that's a Pelican dropship. And he went, how do you know? And I went, I just know. And then it cut. There was like a lot of foliage. It was lovely. There were some Marines. And even from their butts, I could tell they were UNSC Marines.
You can spot a Marine butt from 10 miles.
My fanboyism was going into overdrive, and I do not like that word, but I will admit it was running fast and loose, and to the point where it zoomed out, and like I think someone in the room went, "Oh yeah, it's just kind of a soldier game." I went, "No, those helmets are UNSC Marines. That guy on the right is a medic," and I was just like, "I just know too much." And then it zoomed further back, and I saw the helmet, and I was just like.
Interesting, though, that Master Chief had his helmet in his hands, no?
Yes, and also it appeared to be a Mark 6 helmet, which, considering he went to Mark 7 for Halo 4 and 5...
Well, that's what I want to ask you about, Bleezey. Are you... Because I know I'm happy that they've gone back to classic Chief armor. Like, are you happy that they seem to be going, okay, maybe we've got this wrong, let's dial it back a little bit?
For a lot of Halo, I generally, the Mjolnir armor, I quite like the design of. However, for me, it's the Mark 6, so Halo 3. That is the armor that I know best. That was the armor I came in with. However, it was one of those things where, like, I don't mind if they go backwards, I just want them to explain why in the story, because they didn't explain why, slight spoilers for Halo 4, between Halo 3 and 4, Master Chief's armor went up a level. It went from Mark 6 to Mark 7, despite him being asleep, and they didn't really explain that. However, in Halo 1 to 2, they explain, oh yeah, your armor needs an upgrade because we've been working on X, Y, and Z, the power packs. Sorry, I'm going real nerdy.
Yeah, no, that's fine, that's fine. It's good to dig into.
I want them to explain, why does he go back? Maybe there's a potential problem. Maybe he's going a bit more in touch with his roots, because now I'm trying not to spoil Halo 5, but there are events in Halo 5 where potentially he may go back to what he knows.
Okay, that's good though, because I haven't finished Halo 5 yet.
So I'm going to shut up there. There was a second where the Warthog is driving along on the Halo Infinite trailer where I went, this might be a mobile game. Because for some reason it just kind of looked a little bit kind of like the intro to a mobile game, and then I went, I'd still buy it. I'll still fund it 110%.
Don't you think that the term Halo Infinite implies that they're stepping away from... I don't think this will be a sequel to Halo 5. I think this will be a games as a service type game in the mould of Destiny and Anthem, and this will be their entry in that kind of model with the Halo universe.
We can speculate a lot right now. My interpretation of that, yes, your example kind of makes more sense than mine. However, this is a little bit me pushing what I want from it. I interpret Halo Infinite into a breakdown of stories, sort of like Spartan Ops in Halo 4 and 5, because it was small bits of campaign where they add story, but they also add, it's still fighting, it's still co-op, it's still all the things you want, and it's just like, maybe it's episodic. Like I said, I can speculate a lot. The reason why I base that off is because they showed the Marines, and I can't see a whole Halo online kind of feature similar to Destiny. Why would they bother with Marines?
Because I think they'll be part of the world, and I think it will be a grand part of the world where you have a Master Chief maybe, and there may even be a story mode where you are Master Chief and you play through a bit. But I could see them having, as I said, a kind of persistent on-world, and that kind of ties in with that name. Anyway, look, I know you could probably talk about Halo all day, but we do have a lot of other things to get to, and I'm probably going to have to cut you short there because we didn't get many other details. I actually thought that what they were going to do was intro this at the beginning and then come back with a few more details later in the show as well. So I'm surprised they didn't, but let's move on for now. Quickly, I mentioned the fact that they kind of announced the next Ori sequel to Ori in the Blind Forest with Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I don't know about you guys. People will know I'm not the biggest platformer fan. I didn't play the first game. It looked lovely. It looked cute. It looked nice. I don't think any of us are massively excited about that. No, am I wrong?
I can understand that it's a really good game. I've only played it once, and that was at EGX about 4 years ago with the first game.
Not knocking anyone that's into it, but just not really my thing, and I think we'll probably leave it for other people to delve into more details on. Now, the next one I know Mr. Kev is going to be very interested in, and I believe Mr. Smash Soul is also very interested in. So lead us on that one.
I'm interested in this because... if you cast your minds back, they teased this at the Game Awards at the end of last year, very, very briefly, and everyone was convinced that it was Bloodborne 2. But, as it turns out, it's something completely different.
just stop you there for a minute, because Coleman did say that means they're not working on Bloodborne 2, but they could still be working on Bloodborne 2 because they have multiple teams in that studio now, basically, So it could still be the case, But yeah, Sekiro, am I pronouncing that correctly, do we think, gentlemen?
Sekiro.
Shadows Die Twice from Software as well.
And curiously being published by Activision and not Bandai Namco.
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? Because that's always been their usual hookup. But interesting, and yeah, you like the look of it from what you saw?
I like the look of it because it had FromSoft tied to it. Considering I've been sort of into Dark Souls again recently, I'm all for this, and I imagine Kev is all for this as well.
But yeah, then a Japanese setting, which is obviously new and looked a bit more real worldy, but still with kind of Japanese sort of mythical characters almost, or kind of larger than life type stuff. But yeah, do you think this looked like a Souls game then, Jamie?
I would have to watch the trailer back again, but I mean, I could definitely see elements of Souls games in there. Reused sounds as well. Curiously, it's a FromSoft game. I'm interested.
Yeah, and look like an interesting setting. The one thing I'll be interested in is this, because of the setting and because of the world it's set in. For me, this looks like it might be going up against the Ghost of Tsushima thing, which might be taking a slightly more real-world angle, although we'll see a bit more details on that on the Sony press conference. But I definitely think those two will be sort of standing off against each other, and I'm not sure they'll necessarily be released in the same time frame, because did we see a release date for this one? I don't remember.
2019.
It was just 2019, wasn't it? So it'll probably be later than Ghost of Tsushima, but who knows at the moment, we'll see. The next one we saw a bit more from was Fallout 76. I thought that was kind of interesting. They did show a bit more without showing too much. I saw some people reacting to the trailer and saying, oh, that's it, it's confirmed as not multiplayer. And I was like, well, there was nothing about that confirmed that one way or the other, no?
I interpreted it the other way, because they had the shot of all the various different looking players going past the armor that was in the ground, and I interpreted that as multiple players.
Yeah, as I said, it didn't really seem to confirm it one way or the other, basically. I guess we'll hear a bit more about that at Bethesda's show, so we'll leave that for the guys from Bethesda to kind of sum up and talk a bit more on. The next one we saw a little bit more on was Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. Looked quite interesting, quite nice, quite cutesy graphics and stuff. The one thing I thought was really interesting is they said it would be available to download for free.
Yeah, I think it might be a kind of a like you get the first episode free and then see how it goes kind of thing.
Also set in the Life is Strange universe, so tied into that game as well.
Is that confirmed? I saw people saying that, but
it came up on screen. It said it's from the Life is Strange universe, and I just the only bit that I really remember of this, I was like, oh, it looks kind of adorable. It looks kind of like interesting. It looks very childlike in the way that the design switches to what could clearly be imagination. And then the person next to me, my friend, who it's her first E3 and she was watching it, she went, oh yeah, considering he's a deadbeat dad, that dad's really nice. And that has stuck with me. I now have that association with the game instead of any of what I saw, because I kind of forgot it and went, that is the weirdest explanation for anything.
Again, we'll leave some more people knowledgeable about that universe to speak about that. I think Alex will probably pick up on that one, so we'll go from there. Now, Crackdown 3. I don't know about you guys, but I did tweet out, and I am still of this opinion, that if they delayed Crackdown 3 to put more Terry Crews in, I'm down with that.
Pretty much anything with Terry Crews is an instant buy for me. Not just talking, but in the game, blowing stuff up with a rocket launcher. I was like, this is what I imagine his day-to-day is, for one thing.
That was just his journey to work. That was just a documentary. But yeah, no, like, I do think it was interesting because it seemed to be that he was just associating with it through advertising before, and it now looks as though he was actually more intrinsically in the game, basically, you know?
I mean, I think he was always confirmed to be a character in the game. I'm fairly sure he had stated that before on Twitter, Terry Crews.
I thought the other interesting thing was what they didn't say. They didn't even mention a release date.
They did show that at the end.
Oh, did they?
It was 22nd of February because it was like the same date as a lot of other things.
Same day that every other game is coming out. I forgot. I didn't see the date, but then I saw people talking about that on Twitter as well. I'm like, what? How can you bring that on the 22nd? If anyone doesn't know, Anthem has been confirmed for that day. I think Days Gone has been confirmed for that day. And Metro Exodus as well, which we'll be coming on to in a minute. I'm like, one or two of those games is definitely getting delayed. You can't bring all four of those games out on the same day. If they're all coming out on the same day, I'm buying Anthem and then waiting for Crackdown and possibly not buying the other two kind of thing. I mean, I can't buy 4 like open worldy type games on the same day. That is ridiculous. Anyway, I believe you wanted to talk about Nier Automata as well, Mr. Smashall.
Yeah, very briefly, just because I picked it up on the PS4 about a couple of weeks ago. Haven't started it yet. Now I've got the inkling to trade it in and get the Xbox One X version when it comes out, just so I can have all the pretty graphics. So,
yeah, do we know what the enhancements were? They just got all the DLC and then enhanced for the X, presumably, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I think they said all the add-on content, and depending on what it is, the Xbox One X tends to have sometimes different modes. You can have higher frame rates, higher resolution, so you might be able to pick.
Okay, well, that's one I've been meaning to go back to because I've heard really good things about it. It looks like the type of game that I would like. But anyway, speaking of which, I don't know about you guys, I've never played one of the Metro games, and I feel that that's kind of a thing lacking in my gaming repertoire kind of thing. I've never played one. They showed off Metro Exodus. I thought it looked really nice and shiny, and the guns looked really interesting, and the kind of gun upgrade system looked really interesting. I'm very worried by that release date that I, yet again, won't play another Metro game, though.
I'm in the same boat as you. I feel like I should play the Metro games. I'd love to play the Metro games. I don't have the time or the bravery because they do look kind of scary. This is reinforced. It's like, once again, I love the setting. I'd love to know more about it. However, realistically, it's probably not going to be top of my list.
Yeah, and especially in that release schedule date. Anyway, what were you thinking, Smash Soul? Similar sort of thoughts, or?
I own both Metro games, and I have never played them.
But you're one step ahead of me and Tim.
I saw it for £1, and I thought, why not? So.
Well, yeah, for that price, why not? But yeah, like, I think I'm going to have to wait on that one if it's going to be coming out, that release date. I hope they maybe delay things, or assuming they can't speed things up, I hope they delay things by a month or so, because otherwise I don't think I'll be getting it. Kingdom Hearts, do any of us care? Kingdom Hearts 3, I've never played any of them. I played a demo of the one on the 3DS, and I was like, I do not see what the fuss is about. It just doesn't appeal to me. Again, don't want to on anyone's chips. If you love your Kingdom Hearts, as people seem to do.
My uni housemate cared about it like 5 years ago when it was announced at E3. And that is literally the only person that I know that has ever gone, ooh, Kingdom Hearts 3, so...
Well, they showed off a Frozen level, and some people seem to go mad for that, and I'm sure that's great, and all the Toy Story hookups and everything looked funny, and all that kind of stuff. I thought it looked like a PS3 game, but I won't say that out loud, because that'll anger people on the internet.
Of course, we'll cut that bit. We'll just bleep it all.
Yeah, Coleman will take that all out. He won't do me, a bad thing and leave that in, that's fine. Moving on from that, Sea of Thieves, again, a game that I'm waiting to play until I hear that I've got enough content to make it worth my while. Also, not great because there's only one Xbox in my house at the moment, and that means I can't play it with other people as easily as I would other games. But I thought what they showed off looked good, funny, interesting. Coleman got excited for it. Good old Coleman, but we'll see. Again, have either of you two played Sea of Thieves yet?
I have played it extensively with Dan.
Right, that's right, yes. I've heard about your adventures.
Yeah, we're both in agreement. It needs more content, and these 2 new content updates, we'll definitely dive in and see what's up with them as well.
Yep, that's good. And they did mention, I think, there were free updates, which is also good as well, so not bad. Now, Battlefield 5. Now, I know that you want to dig into this one, so I will sit back and leave you to it.
What is the point in sitting through an EA press conference and they go, don't worry, Battlefield 5, for the, let's face it, just me, that cares about the story, you can't wait for the Xbox conference, we're going to really dive in depth to that war story and that. And then they show you the same 40 seconds that they showed in the background while the person talking in the EA press conference. And then they're like, yeah, Battlefield 5, bye, let's move on. And I was just like... I was so mad. I was so mad I almost forgot about Halo being announced earlier on. It was... I was furious. And it was one of those where I was like, you know how you said, oh yeah, they announced Halo and then right at the back, they'll bring it back. I was doing that with Battlefield 5. I was going, yeah, no, obviously they've got at least 64 consoles behind the guy. They're gonna be like, and now you thought we were just joking about Battlefield 5. Here's a whole game. But nothing. Absolutely nothing. To the point where the big reveal at the end, we'll get onto that. I thought it was Battlefield coming back. There was a blurry logo. I thought that was the Frostbite logo. I got legitimately excited, and it was gone. It was destroyed. I'm trying to use good language, but man, I'm mad.
It does make you think that they should have delved into that a little bit deeper. I mean, I know that Battlefield 5 had its own kind of reveal event a while back, but you kind of think they should have dug into that a little bit deeper at the EA press conference, and that would have given their whole conference a bit more meat to it as well, no?
The one thing that Bleezey mentioned in the EA segment of the podcast was DICE and EA seem to be tiptoeing around showing us any content and are leaving it to all of their game changers on YouTube. That's where I've got most of my information from, rather than these press conferences, and it's a bit strange.
Yeah, and but it's the same with Anthem. We complained about that yesterday. I have read so many interesting details and seen some videos on Anthem that's got me excited about Anthem again. I didn't get any of that from EA's press conference yesterday, so a little bit weird, but I think that's more EA not kind of hitting the right notes than it was Microsoft. I think Microsoft had so much to get through in their conference that it was generally difficult to drill down into Battlefield enough, possibly. Moving on from that, because we are still pushed for time again, Forza Horizon 4, set in Britain. I think this pleased all of us. I loved the last of Forza Horizon. The Australian setting was quite cool, but when they announced it was in Britain, it put a massive smile on my face, basically, just seeing all the kind of, British landmarks. And, then they also kind of delved into the season system, which looked really interesting as well. The fact that, when it goes into winter, a lake iced up, and that'll give you access to other things that you didn't have available beforehand. Obviously, it changes the handling going from one season to another, but it seemed to be like a persistent open world type thing where you see all your friends. That seemed like they seem to be kind of labouring that point, but that didn't seem significantly different from what we saw in the previous Horizon, no?
Considering in the previous Horizon it was just the online quote-unquote drivatars, that's still a stupid name. The drivatars, after a while, I can't tell you how many times I would just see one, oh look, he's crashed into a tree and doesn't know how to reverse.
So that wasn't actually other people in the world then, and this is, so that's what the difference was. Also, I thought the key point from there that looked really cool was just the fact that you can drive up to someone and then invite them into your game type thing, or just kind of hook up with them straight away. A lot of people made sort of dogging references online on Twitter and stuff, but let's not go there. But yeah, just the fact that you can drive up to someone and go, right, let's go race. I thought that looked really cool. I wonder how trolly it'll get with people crashing into you coming in the other direction and stuff like that. Possibly that's hopefully something that they've already thought of. But just the fact that, as I said, there's the London landmarks. You saw a London black cab hooning round and stuff like that.
Is it all of Britain? I'm a little bit confused because I thought it was just Scotland.
You saw Edinburgh and you saw the the chalk horse thing in Wiltshire. I'm fairly sure you saw that as well.
Oh my god! So I was right. Like when I first saw this, I saw the thatched house and I was looking around, and then there was the big windmills, and I kind of went, "Oh my god, this is Gloucestershire." They've genuinely brought Forza to my home, and I got really excited. And then there was snow, and I went, "Oh no, it's got to be Scotland." And then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's from Edinburgh and stuff." And I was just like, I'm still excited, but less.
I'm guessing what they've done is they've done something very similar to the Crew game, where they've taken Britain, but they've shrunk it down.
I'm still super excited for that, and the only other note that I've got is BRB did Scottish cars here on brand. There might be an event.
The other thing I just thought, I don't remember a game setting courses around London since Project Gotham Racing and all that type of stuff.
The only one I can think of is Midnight Club 2.
Okay, but yeah, just if they do some London races, I'll be quite happy. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the rally stages were also set in Wales as well, because there's some quite good rally tracks there. But that, again, could be Scotland. I think they said it was set in the UK. They didn't specify Scotland, is what I'm saying there. So I suspect you're right, Smash Soul, that it will be a kind of amalgamation of lots of British things in one small, shrunk down area type thing.
That gets me more excited than just, no offense, but just Scotland, because I've not been to Scotland. I can't go to places I know. Whereas if it's Britain, I can go all over the place.
But anyway, very exciting. I don't think it'll be an accurate representation. I think it'll be a bit different to the Crew. I think it'll be like how they treated Australia in the previous game, of it's just a lot of environments that are kind of threaded together to make a whole type of thing, you know? But anyway, they said that that's coming October 2nd. That is quite exciting. Quite excited by that indeed.
That's an instant buy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely for me as well. There's not many games that are instant buys on my Xbox One. That is definitely one of them. So yeah, that was good. Right, now, the next thing that they kind of drilled into, I think was the next thing. I may be jumping ahead of myself. Did we miss a couple of things here?
We've got... next one I've got is We Happy Few.
Right, no, but the next thing was the kind of acquisitions of studios, which I thought was interesting. For one, with the Forza Horizon, they've actually bought Playground Games.
Which I thought they already owned.
It was kind of a second-party studio almost type thing. It's now first-party. But the other interesting bit of thing there that Coleman and I were discussing is the fact that they hired a load of ex-Lionhead devs. They did mention that they'd be working on a new IP, and I think they even said they'd be leveraging some open world stuff on it as well. I think that they may be making the new Fable, or Coleman and I think they may be making the new Fable, which will be interesting anyway. But yeah, they then also talked about the fact that they've bought Undead Labs, which is someone I'm less familiar with.
They're the guys that did State of Decay.
Right, okay. I don't really care for that, but still. Compulsion, the guys behind We Happy Few, that was an interesting purchase, I thought. Just, they're obviously getting them fully on board before that comes out as well. And they did show a trailer off for We Happy Few, and that looked like it had more story than we'd been led to believe previously as well, no? Because I think that's still in early access, so it looks like...
I got really confused by this because I thought they were announcing a sequel, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and I wanted to call it We Happy 2, and then they were just like, We Happy Few, and I went, wait, what? No, that's the name of the first one, but
then they also talked about the fact that they bought Ninja Theory, which I thought was really interesting. They made DMC2 and then more recently Hellblade.
Which is curious because Hellblade was a PC and PS4 exclusive for a long time, and then it came to Xbox One months later.
Well, yeah, obviously they were like, well, look, we don't want to miss out on the next one. We want to snap you up. And it was interesting. Ninja Theory were doing some interesting experiments in kind of, the function of, the games that they were making and stuff. So that was interesting in itself, and I think that was good. And then they've also formed a new studio, and didn't really give many details on this, but a new studio called The Initiative over in America. And yeah, we'll see what they come up with, basically.
I did find it funny when they were chatting about the initiative, because they didn't really go into specifics. It did kind of sound like a cult, and I was just sat there going, if it's a cult and they decide that Master Chief is their idol, I will sign up tomorrow. But like, if you listen back to it, they don't really put any specifics, and it genuinely could be a cult.
Yeah, could possibly. But then they showed a bit of PUBG, which obviously we know about and is already on the console.
Runs at 2 frames a second.
They then showed Tales of Vesperia, which, other than the fact there was a dog smoking a pipe, I've tried to get into the Tales games before. I find them very JRPG-ish.
It sounds like I missed the highlight. I didn't see the dog smoking the pipe. I'm mad now.
Well, you missed out. But then they got a bit more heavy in showing off the Division 2. A Washington setting, a summer setting. And yeah, this looked interesting. Looked good. They had the whole fake Ubisoft chatter.
The same people, by the way.
Well, I don't know, because they had 2 women, and I don't think they've had 2 women in some of their stuff before.
No. Because in the first division, they had, I believe it was 3 people.
Right.
And it was Duke and Megan and the player.
Right.
And now they had Duke, Megan, and Kit and the player. From what I can remember, that's why they make a joke about Kit not being leveled up enough because she's the new person. When they made that joke in the commentary, I was just like, oh no. And every single person in the room drank because they were like, oh no, they brought back the really cringy, it's gameplay voice acting, but it's just... they're reading a script.
Got a lot of comments, but I actually thought it was improved on previous showings in terms of what they've done in previous years. I think it had a few nice nods, like you say, about that woman coming in. But yeah, I thought that was okay and did enough to show me the game. I actually think that, and again, Coleman was a bit more excited about this because he played more of the Division than I did. But I do think that, and I saw a few comments to the same, that did slow the pace down. That was the one point, I think, of the whole conference that the pacing slowed down a bit. I think for the fans of the Division, it was good and you could see all the differences. For people that weren't major fans of the Division, that was where it got a little bit more bogged down, basically.
There were definitely comments in the room about it. I am one of the people I'm a huge fan of the Division. I love a lot of that I'm not going to go into it because we don't have time, but like there were definitely people that didn't play The Division in the room going, well, this is quite a lot. This is, it looks a bit like Destiny, and they're just making their comments. And, well, you're going, well, yeah, but I can't really explain it, but like it's different.
Moving on, Shadows of the Tomb Raider. Again, not the biggest surprise that was shown here. I don't think that was marked as an exclusive in any way because that seemed to piss off the fans of the previous game. So just showing off Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it looked like more Tomb Raider. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. The last two games were good, but there's not much more to talk about than that there, basically. We then moved on to Session. Now, this seemed to be cashing in on the fact that EA didn't bother to talk about Skate 4 because someone else has made a game that looks very much in that kind of ilk. Yeah, definitely your kind of more realistic-looking skateboarding game.
With the people falling off the skateboards, I genuinely thought it was Skate because I thought that was resonant with the Skate brand.
Yes, and I think a lot of people did. It was an easy mistake to make. But yeah, I think that's that's what it is, and I think that will please some fans.
Also, Session is one of the console exclusives as well.
Right, yeah, that was a console exclusive as well. So that gives the people that wanted a Skate 4 a reason to pick up an Xbox, and yeah, that's no bad thing, I guess, for Xbox at least. Then we saw Black Desert Online. Again, I don't think any of us particularly necessarily play a lot of MMORPGs unless I'm wrong. No. But that looked okay. Fantasy-based MMORPG. And yeah, looked okay. Not really my thing. We'll move on. Now, I was quite excited for the next one, Devil May Cry 5. That looked cool. Again, it was interesting because they said Devil May Cry 5, and they definitely said that, but it looked, at least at first, like it was going to be DMC2. It definitely had Nero in it rather than Dante, but they did tease Dante at the end of the trailer as well. So, but again, I was quite pleased just because it looks like that's set in London, or at least the UK, but probably London by the looks of things.
I thought it looked like London as well, but if I'm honest, I didn't know enough about Devil May Cry, and because there were also shots where I went, oh, that could easily be like any city in America kind of thing.
I know, it had red double-decker buses, and I thought I saw a red phone box at some stage as well, or something. There was a couple of like very Londonish looking landmarks.
I thought I saw a couple like bridges that looked very London-esque, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then they kind of moved on, and I was like, well, I don't actually know if it's true or if it's like a fictional city. So
interesting though, in just the fact that they don't seem to have completely chucked the baby out with the bathwater in terms of getting everything DMC out of the way, but it definitely looked as though they were kind of incorporating the two characters, where they're going to go back and kind of retrospectively readjust the story. Interesting to see. They then also kind of announced a bit more Cuphead. Basically, it looked like not quite Cuphead 2, but like more content for Cuphead. They also then went with a new game, which I think was an exclusive, in Tunic.
I think it was, yeah.
It looked adorable. It looked like Little Fox Zelda.
I thought it looked more like a mini Fox kind of, almost like a Souls-like kind of hack and slash type thing, no? I mean, I guess, yeah, Zelda's a kind of touch point as well, but
it was just the design of the little fox, because he had the little, like, almost scout scarf, and just the way that he was dressed and stuff, that's where I drew Zelda from. But if I'm honest, like, it doesn't seem like my kind of game, but I'm interested just because that fox is adorable.
Quite adorable. But then they moved into their section of all world premieres from here on, basically, as they said. So we got to see Jump Force, which Bandai Namco game, basically anime hero smash-ups from kind of One Piece and Dragon Ball Z and something else that I've forgotten. But yeah, not really my thing. I don't know if that particularly floats either of your boats. I know Coleman got excited for this again. I think it's one of those ones where we'll have to wait and see how the game works out as to how interesting that is. Again, I'll leave more knowledgeable people to talk about that a bit more. Dying Light 2, I thought was interesting. Parkour open world zombie game in a sequel to the next one. They did show that there are kind of lots of decision based things that will kind of affect how your world operates and how that works.
When they showed the big like web of decisions at the end,
yeah,
I couldn't help but just write down Detroit Become Zombie because it just looks so similar. I can't stop it. The other thing, I genuinely was looking out for it about halfway through. Did any of you actually see a zombie in that trailer?
Basically, they showed the daytime stuff, and it was the same in the first game. The daytime, the zombies don't really come out, or they are, but they're a bit more slow and shambling and not much of a threat. Whereas at night, they become really more potent, really more kind of hostile, and are a much greater threat. And there's some things you need to do at night, and therefore they become more of a problem, basically. And they showed a bit of they cut to at night, and then they showed you a bit of the zombies attacking you at the end there, basically.
I must have missed that bit. Like, the only reason that I went, "Oh, that's Dying Light," was because it cut to dark and it had the kind of UV light outside the safe zone, and I just remember that from like the short amount that I played Dying Light. I was like, "Oh yeah, the zombies don't like the UV light or whatever," and so I was like, "Ooh, Dying Light."
I didn't play enough of the first game, but I did like it. I had a friend that absolutely loved it and raved about it a lot, and I think it was it kind of set itself apart from a lot of the other zombie games because it has an interesting parkour system anyway. But yeah, interesting. They then also mentioned Battletoads, which I thought was a nice kind of almost like a cheap pop. I'm not necessarily sure how great a game it will be, and they didn't really talk about it too much. But a 3-player co-op game, 2019. We'll wait and see until we get more details on that one, I think. Yeah?
I only know Battletoads as a meme.
The meme lives.
Yeah, I don't actually know what kind of game it is, what it's even about. I assume there's like frogs in it. Well, toads.
Toads, yes. It was a scrolling beat 'em up, or scrolling brawler basically, and I believe it was a couple of players back in the day, maybe. Anyway, again, we'll wait for more details on that one. But it's being made by a studio that I think we did a preview of their recent game, and yeah, that seemed to be all right. So yeah, interested to see where that goes, basically. Yeah, then Just Cause 4. I don't know about you guys. I really liked 1 and 2. I didn't play anything of 3 just because I had a bit of open world fatigue. I could easily pick up 4, but it really depends where in the year it comes out in comparison to other things. If it's coming out on February the 22nd, it can forget it.
I played a lot of Just Cause 2. It's one of the few games I've actually perfected, and I picked up Just Cause 3, but the performance issues just put me off of it. So hopefully they rectify it with 4.
For me, it was Just Cause 3 I came in at, and like a lot of my friends had played Just Cause 2, and they told me like how great it was and stuff. And so I enjoyed Just Cause 3. However, I ran out of things to blow up in the end, and I went, I don't really know what to do. But when I saw the Just Cause 4 trailer, I immediately saw the tornado, and I leant over to Diarmuid and I went, I'm going to find a way to set that tornado on fire. I'm imagining, like, you know, Sharknado, but I want that with fire. I want fire spewing out of that tornado and just wreckage everywhere. I will find a way.
Right, and then we get into the kind of ramping up towards the end. They had a massive Gears reveal, and they kind of trolled the whole audience, basically.
I got so confused.
Yeah, well, the fact that like it had been rumoured that there would be a Gears of War 5, and that's the one thing that we'd heard about. There were also other rumours of a few other things, but basically the first one they revealed, and I think it was quite clever to reveal in the way they did, but the whole audience went, and then went, what? No, what the hell are you doing? When they revealed Gears, or I think, was it Gears of War Pop, I think was what they called it, basically? Or Gears Pop. But basically, a Funko Pop Gears of War game that they then went to mention after they kind of revealed it, that seemed to be a mobile game as well, basically.
Yeah, I saw the iOS logo at the end, and so that's what made me think mobile.
Yeah, that was a strange one. I think we'll wait and see until we get...
I saw Carmine in the trailer, and Carmine is like nearing Master Chief level for me, and like I absolutely adore him.
He's so gonna die in that game, you know that though, yeah?
Nah, well, you know, see Carmine... I can't say that because it's spoilers, but like, see Carmine was great, and therefore, you know, who knows?
We'll see what happens. But then they did talk about one that I'm really interested in, and they didn't really show any details on, which was Gears Tactics. They said it was a turn-based strategy game, but then they also mentioned the nail in the coffin for that for me, which is the fact that they're only planning on bringing it to PC. And I was like, oh, I like my turn-based strategy games. I'd like one in the Gears universe, but PC only, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Did you guys notice that they've dropped the of War from Gears of War? Everything was Gears Pop, it was Gears Tactics, and, you know, moving on to Gears 5.
I'm not a fan of that. It's like, I just don't like it.
Like, I've always called it Gears, but, like, it did feel weird that I was like, what are you doing?
Maybe getting away from the word war a bit and just making it a bit less wordy. And GOW doesn't exactly... It's one of those things that doesn't actually make an acronym that's actually shorter than saying Gears of War almost kind of thing, because you can't shorten it that much. So I guess that's part of the reasoning behind it. I did think the trailer that they showed off for Gears 5 looked really interesting, though, no?
It looked very exploratory, and that could be the reason why they're going away from the of war. Because, like, there was obviously, like, fight scenes and stuff. However, a lot of the beginning of the trailer seemed to be a lot of exploration. Similar to Tomb Raider, that was where I went to with it. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, you know, potentially it could be, you know, let's explore this whole new world kind of thing, and maybe that's why they've dropped the of war. But
then, yeah, I also thought that it was just interesting in the kind of, not so much what we saw from the human side of things, or the, you know, humanoid side of things, but more from the enemy types, and it kind of looked like a cross between flesh and mech type enemies type thing, and I thought that looked interesting. At least.
They seemed almost zombie-like. There is also a couple spoilers in there because I've not finished or started Gears of War 4. I have it.
I need to go finish 4. Let's leave the spoilers out for everyone else just in case they didn't see it. The other thing that they just about to sign off, and then they did a cheeky kind of, oh no, we're getting hacked kind of thing.
Oh no, Battlefield's coming. Oh wait, no, it's not Battlefield.
It wasn't Battlefield. It wasn't Halo for you, Bleezey. But this was one that really pleased me. I think, if anything, I don't think they said it was an exclusive or anything. I think this will be across all consoles, so it's not necessarily a reason to buy an Xbox, but it was good just to get the association, because I am really pleased to actually finally get to see a bit of Cyberpunk 2077, and that looked really interesting. Like, it definitely ticked the right boxes for me. A couple of the reference points seem to be almost kind of Ready Player One-ish. No, you had the kid in the VR headset and a couple of other things, but it definitely seemed to be its own take on the Cyberpunk universe, and I am very, very keen to hear more on that, basically. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. We've had to barrel through the last ones there because we are way over time. Thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. We'll have to call it a day there, I think, because otherwise Coleman will explode, and also I have to go to bed. But yeah, as I said, overall, I thought it was a really good conference from Microsoft. I thought it was exactly what they needed to do. They've acquired studios. They're moving forward with other games. They got a load of exclusives. And I thought there was not much else they could have done in the space that they are to do everything that they needed to. And I thought they did a really good job of kind of having a very tight conference that kind of went from one beat to the next very quickly. We had a lot to cover in here, so it was quite difficult to get done quickly. But I thought they did pretty well.
I struggled to find a misstep. And I know I've made jokes about, oh, I expected this, but like everything seemed to flow, like you said. I can't think of a point where even thinking, yes, that's not my kind of game, I can't ever think of a game where I was like, well, why are you showing that? So it was pretty good.
And also, yeah, we didn't mention, but they had a kind of sizzle reel of a few other things they're showing. I'm most excited about Wargroove, which is kind of a turn-based strategy type thing in the kind of Advanced Wars mold. But they had a whole sizzle reel of like idea Xbox stuff as well that we didn't really get time to talk about. We'll come back to some of those in the future maybe. But in the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much, Bleezey. Thank you very much, Smash Soul. I'm sorry we had to kind of rush through a few things there, but we had to get things done. Thank you very much.
Sorry I talked over you, Smash Soul.
No worries.
Likewise. All done and out of here, and we'll come back with Bethesda show with the next group of guys. That's it from us three, and we'll have some more teams coming in and introducing themselves and going from there. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
We're starting with a game that we announced a few weeks ago through our friends at Walmart Canada. Perhaps best known for their low prices and ability to keep a secret.
Now we started, we've had an awesome Bethesda show, and that can only mean that E3 is all in the glory and kickoff swing as it does as Bethesda happens. I don't know if that made any sense. Don't really care, to be honest. As in the last 3 years we've had Bethesda conferences, they have been amazing, and we have been talking about them, and they've been kind of like the wake-up of the show. Just as the last previous couple of shows we've done this, I've brought with me the amazing Diarmuid.
Hello there.
And Mr. Kev Thesda himself, Kev. Yeah, which is hard to say Kev Thesda and say Kev instead of Kev, I've just noticed.
Yep, okay.
That's the gap in between my teeth, doing things with my speech. Anyway, guys, we're going to talk about Bethesda, and before we jump into the way the show ran in its entirety, what did you think of the show overall?
Very, very good.
Very, very good indeed.
Yeah? He's gone one up on you.
He's done me. He's absolutely done me.
Absolute unit. Yeah, I really enjoyed the show. You may have gathered that by my intro, and I'll get to the big reasons as to why. But guys, what was the overall game? What was the big thing that you were looking forward to going in? What was the big thing you're looking forward to coming out? Let's start with you, Diarmuid.
For me, I wasn't sure it was going to happen.
Well, the show, I think they sent invites and everything.
Yeah, there was a schedule and everything. It was really great. No, but the one game I thought that wasn't going to happen was Doom. I thought it might be a bit too soon.
Soon for Doom?
Exactly, too soon for Doom. But I didn't think it was going to happen, and they came out and they announced it, and it's just a CG trailer at the moment, but hopefully we'll see more later in the year. But it looks incredible, and that was the game I was kind of excited for. So I was looking forward to that personally. That
pre-rendered trailer, it starts off with the big artwork kind of splash setup like they did with the previous game, and there's loads of Easter eggs into previous things we see. It's all like the Doom 2 cover now. So, right, Kev, what about you?
Going in, I wanted to see what Rage 2 was, at least in some way, shape, or form.
Fair.
I loved the unveiling with the Andrew WK soundtrack. As a massive fan of Andrew WK, I was well on board with that. Thematically, I'm down for it. I just want to say how good it was that no one in that crowd appreciated Andrew WK, except about 5 people. Everyone was just stunned, and then about 5 people just losing their minds. Yeah, and coming out of it, I'm just, like Diarmuid said, I'm so glad that they announced Doom. I wasn't expecting it, and I'm blown away that is getting announced now, and yeah, roll on next year for that one.
That's fair. Yeah, very similar. I was looking forward to seeing more about Rage 2 on the way in. Wasn't particularly hyped about Fallout 76, and then coming out, it's gained my interest, so we'll talk about that in a sec. So going through the show itself and all the stuff we had on offer, as you said, Andrew WK did appear, and that was awesome. I really like this, especially because the trailer for Rage originally was shown off. A lot of people went, wow, that song's really cool. It's Andrew WK!
There were people saying it was like inspired by Andrew WK. I was like, no.
So no, it's actually him. It's If I Get Wet. It's a great. So yeah, and it's been an excuse for me to break out I Get Wet a lot. So pulled that up on the old streaming service, and that's been on my phone ever since.
It's a banger of an album.
By the way, I was watching the show with a bunch of people, including our own Alex, and no one in the room besides myself knew who Andrew WK was when he came out on stage. And I feel so ashamed. So ashamed.
They don't know they're born. They don't know who Andrew WK is. So that was a great way to open up. As you said, hilarious that about 5 people headbanging, sort of like, oh, I know this guy is. And then other people just stern looks on their faces. But that's the way you set a tone. Rage 2 itself, they had that playing in the background while he was singing. Then they actually did show us a trailer and then some gameplay where you've got your character, Walker, the last of the Rangers, out on a mission to retrieve some kind of weaponry that's going to help the cause and also give him special powers. It looked nice. It looked bonkers. I like the way they went through a gameplay trailer and edited it down just to take out the lengthy parts of driving and things. It was.
And not only did they take it down, edit it down that way, they kind of tied together the moves. So like he'd pull off some kind of trick shot, and then the end of the trick shot would be the next scene or moving it forward. It was really well edited together.
It took me a couple of cuts before I realised that was happening. I thought the guy had like a wormhole teleportation power or something.
I like it. I thought it was a really good way of showing, especially for something exciting, you want bang, 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 snap, snap, snap. You know, it was a good way of doing it. Wouldn't work for everything. Worked particularly well this way. I'm really excited for Rage 2. I'm assuming you guys are pretty much the same?
Yeah, it looked a lot better than I was expecting.
I quite liked the first game. It didn't blow the roof off anyone's head, but it was fun enough to go through, despite its flaws. And
it had John Goodman.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like they might. Well, so did Roseanne. And it looks like it.
Oh no!
One of these things is deader than the other.
I think Rage 2, they finally got a theme to run with, which is going to help it a lot.
I really liked it. Kind of takes that Rage, Borderlands style-y type thing, post-apocalyptic, open world. Vehicle combat was one of the things I really did like in the first game, so it looks like they've completely expanded on that, and that's something I'm really excited about. So we'll just see when that comes out later this year. Doom Eternal. That's not Doom 2, as I thought it might. I got all excited and went, "Ooh, Doom 2!" Doom Eternal. Now, Kev, especially, you got to be excited about this, because I know you were a big old fan of Doom.
That was my game of the year for that year, man. And I literally am playing through it again this week. This week, for about the 5th or 6th time.
Is that the Pusser copy?
Yes, this one's on PC. Although I almost platinumed it on PlayStation 4 as well, just because one platform apparently wasn't enough. Yeah, I couldn't be more excited about it. I'm not surprised that they ditched the 2, because at some point you've got to stop naming your games with exactly the same metadata that you have in your previous catalogue.
That's fair.
So, yeah, I think Doom confused a lot of people, especially databases.
That's why there's Doom and Doom 2016.
But I'll be very interested to see what they do with it, because it looks like they're going to Earth, which, you know, the original Doom 2 was hell on Earth.
Yes.
And, but it also says we're returning to Mars. So, Star Mars, maybe? I don't know.
When they had the guys out on stage, they were basically saying, we know exactly what you want. And then they kind of went through, make it more powerful, give us more enemies. And everyone was just like, yeah.
And set it on Earth.
Exactly. So it was all good news from that kind of perspective. Obviously, they said that we're going to see more probably gameplay at QuakeCon in August or October, whenever that is. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
I was a bit gutted we didn't get to see any gameplay, so we've got to wait for QuakeCon for that. But as you say, I enjoyed Doom for a fair point, and then I kind of got stuck on some platforming part of it, and never really went back to it. But now it's super low in price. I probably will go give that another crack before the new version comes out. And I'm more excited about this because it is Hell on Earth, and that just sounds super exciting to me, so this should be fun.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein... Oh, no, sorry, Prey. We got to do Prey first.
Prey.
Yeah, Prey. I forgot this existed.
My second place game of the year for last year.
Really?
Yeah, I love that game.
Because I've been watching a few friends play this, and I don't know, nothing appealed to me about it. Even the trailers. Like, the trailers were intriguing, but the game itself was not.
It depends what you're looking for in a game. As you well know about me, I like messing around with game systems. So Prey was perfect for that. They give you that gun where you can just create your own platforming, essentially. As long as you're willing to shoot it in places that the developers wouldn't have thought that's a good place to shoot it.
See, I just like smashing cups, thinking that they might be aliens.
That's also for I really enjoyed the ability to turn into a cup and lob myself through a letterbox and then get into an area of the game that I wasn't supposed to get to for another 3 hours.
As is the dream.
Fun. Yeah, but that's why I love Prey. It's like Dishonored in the same. I mean, they're both arcane games. They both let me feel like I'm breaking the game in a really intriguing way that makes me feel like a genius.
Okay, so more DLC is going to be right up your street then.
Absolutely. And it's out already, as it turns out.
Moon Crash. So this is the idea of you're going through a simulation that's never the same twice. If you die, you restart the simulation. Dying in some cases is going to be necessary for your mission. Looks bizarre. They're like a big mashup of the Prey game.
I think the general scope of it seems to be we've made a roguelike using Prey. Which I'm 100% down for, because as I say, I love dynamic systems.
Right, now we're going to move to Wolfenstein Youngblood. Youngblood, which I'm looking forward to this more than I was Wolfenstein 2, because it's set in the 80s, and that's something I like.
Gonna be interested to see what their 80s looks like, certainly.
Also, is this the first multiplayer one that they've done? Because they said co-op, didn't they?
Now, I don't know, before the Bethesda stuff, was there a Wolfenstein co-op or versus or anything before?
Not in terms of recent games. There might have been like mods and things for the older ones, the really older ones.
Okay, so this is probably the first official multiplayer version of Wolfenstein then?
I would suspect so, yeah.
Yeah, so you're playing as BJ Blazkowicz's twin daughters. So you're playing as two female characters. So I'm sure there's people on Twitter that are already angry about this. You're in France, an alternate version of France in the 80s, run by Nazis. I can't wait to play this. And, co-op, get to play with other people. Share the fun and swearing.
The only thing I'm concerned about is if this is canon to the story, and this has been pointed out by a lot of people, so I'm just repeating what I've seen. This means that BJ Blazkowicz in Wolfenstein 3 didn't kill the Nazis. But then I got to thinking, what if the start of Wolfenstein 3 is based at the end of this game? You start off as BJ's twin daughters and they go back in time, and then it's just a big co-op game with BJ and his grown-up daughters going on a Nazi hunt.
I mean, there is time jumping in the game, so we don't know what's happening.
So it turns out I'm okay with it. In fact, just give me dual-wielding machine guns again, and I'll be perfectly happy no matter what it is, if I'm honest.
Killing Nazis.
It's a good thing.
Can't go wrong with that.
Before we go on to Fallout, we have to mention the very special edition of Skyrim. Just go online, look on YouTube for it. It's worth it.
That's fair. So they kind of did a big play on. We all know why you're here. You know why you're here. What you want to find out is what are Bethesda going to port Skyrim to next? Which I was genuinely wondering that.
And I believed them for the first 2 minutes of this ad.
Apparently, it's true. They did release a thing out on Twitter saying if you want to play. So this is Skyrim Alexa, the Super Special Edition, or something they called it.
Yeah. Or the very special edition, yeah, something like that.
So the idea of you playing a voice narrated version of Skyrim and yeah, I don't know, but
the fact that they had Keegan-Michael Key as well doing it.
He was very good doing the first row. He's like Fuss and pushes all the stuff off the table. Like, what are you doing, Fuss Radar? It's the shout that pushes things. So yeah, that's fair. That's how you describe it. I really liked that, but then Bethesda tweeted out saying, and I don't have an Alexa because I can't test this, is that you can play the game if you say Alexa Skyrim play. So if you have one, maybe go try that and let me know. That'd be great. Fallout 76, we'll get back to that. That is indeed a game. They showed off quite a lot of the same they did with Fallout 4, but they went, okay, so it's bigger than Fallout 4, there's new rendering engines, and it's set in West Virginia, and it looks beautiful. Oh, look at all the foliage. And then they start showing off the campaign stuff, and it looks very much like they did with Fallout 4, and then they dropped the bombshell. They confirmed that it is a survival multiplayer open world game, and referred to as softcore survival. So all your progression, if you jump to another server to help with a friend, you're going to take all your progression with you. If you die, your progression's still staying with your character. You're not going to lose anything.
This ain't no DayZ or Rust.
And because Rust was the thing that was touted as Fallout Rust is what Fallout 76 is going to be before the actual reveal. And I'm glad it isn't. And this is why I'm a bit more interested in this game, because I've never really gotten along with the first-person Fallout games, and did try with Fallout 4, but apparently... and I quite enjoyed it, but a lot of people fell off it very quickly. I fell off of it because of time. I had to play other games. But the idea of playing a multiplayer version, and not one that's so taxing as I thought it may be, does actually intrigue me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they really harped on about how it's not going to be hundreds of people, it's not going to be thousands of people, we're talking dozens at a push. At any given time on any given server. And I love that idea because what you've always, or at least what I've always wanted out of those games, every time I've thought, man, wouldn't this be fun to play with friends? It's not like an MMO, which is what Elder Scrolls Online became, obviously. I've only ever wanted to play with like a party of people in co-op. That'd be really fun. And that's what they're giving it that.
Even when, I like the idea of taking this to other things as well. Even when Skyrim first came out, I just kept thinking, how fun would this be playing with a friend? And a similar style game with Fallout, playing with 4 friends, that seems like a great idea.
Yeah, Fallout 4 I bounced off pretty hard. I didn't have anything against it necessarily, it was more of the same, and I had enough after my initial 20-30 hours or whatever. Didn't make it very far in all in, as ridiculous as that sounds.
What I'm interested in with this is, I'm assuming because it's going to be online multiplayer, what are they going to do with the VAT system?
It will pause for everyone whenever anyone uses VAT.
It just, everyone on the server just pauses, yeah.
You're just trying to get back to your base and it pauses. Another player is using VAT.
Well, this is a prequel to all the other Fallouts. So and we saw a lot of the weaponry being used with the manual reloading and stuff, and pushing down the powder into the pistol barrel and all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be likely that we're not getting the VATs in this, like Kev says, and it's going to be something that's safer than the later games with that excuse. Maybe it's something that they have the ability to. They just haven't figured out how to switch it on yet. So who knows?
It's been a while since I played Fallout 4, but I recall the gunplay being a lot better in real time anyway. So if they're keeping it along those lines, then that should be fine.
That's fair. And the nuke stuff. Yeah, there's going to be several different nuclear centers with weapons available to you, and you can go nuke other regions of the map.
Well, first of all, you've got to loot all of the launch codes, which I love that aspect of it. I'll be interested to see how they get distributed, like how much RNG is involved, whether it's completely random or there's set characters that drop them. And then what? You break into the silo, you launch the nuke at what? Is it other players' towns, or
the way they showed it was the map split into separate regions? So I'm assuming it's separate. Or you're launching at those regions,
right? But they said that you'll be able to switch between servers at any given time, right? So it's not like you can have, this guy really annoyed me 3 days ago, so I'm going to blow up his town now. So I question what you're blowing up, and is it a permanent thing? Is it going to be one of those things where every player goes straight for the nukes on day one, and then there's no cities left in the world of Fallout 76.
I think it's going to be something that's... Well, yeah, I had the same thing as you. I think it's something they're going to set that's so incredibly hard that you're rarely going to see that be a thing. However, once everyone gets super leveled up and you get the hardcore players, that's when it's just going to be, nuked, nuked. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, I find myself wondering if it's going to be like a weekly reset where they just, like, the launch codes go out on Monday, and then you can do as much damage to the overworld as you want over the course of that week, and then everything gets reset the next Monday.
But yeah, it does look super cool. We got to look at a couple of other projects as well. There's Fallout Shelters come to it's come to the Switch and PS4. And also, there's a new mobile game that they've been working on for quite some time, apparently. This is it's called Elder Scrolls Blades, or The Blades. And this is a iPhone mobile game where you basically play a Elder Scrolls first-person style game. Tap controls or regular thumbstick style controls on screen. You can play it vertically or horizontally. Yeah, it looks quite interesting.
It's really interesting that they showed the phone part for that first, and it looked like, when you play in VR games with hand controls, you've got your sort of wavy weapons in front of you that look really stupid, but are satisfying as hell. And I was watching them play it on the phone, and I thought to myself, man, that looks really like a VR interface, when just like the same kind of thing you get in Job Simulator. And then I was like, if they have a portrait, and then it goes portrait mode. So, okay, so they've designed this so that you can do it in more of a sort of portrait mode, which is what obviously VR sets are displaying in. So yeah, it was a little surprise to me by the time they announced it was coming to VR, but it made me a lot more excited about it because that's where I'm going to be playing it.
Yeah, not just VR, just other devices they've announced. They want it available on lots of different devices. So that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah, it's coming to Apple TV.
Free to download. I'm sure there'll be some form of microtransaction goodness in there.
Oh, 100%. You could see the two different kinds of currency in the top right through that whole demo.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to downloading that, getting on the tube, because living in London, and that's the only time I want to play mobile games, getting on the tube, and then going under a tunnel, and then everything getting kicked off, and then me deleting that app. So that should be fun.
You could play The Elder Scrolls Legends instead, which is now also coming to Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Now, I played this like 2 years ago, and I'm not a big fan of card games, tabletop games in particular, but I thought this played very well, and I'm surprised I don't see more people getting into this, but still getting into like Hearthstone.
I think the card game thing, especially digital card games, is such a niche genre at the moment still, that the few people that are playing them are playing the ones that are huge, which is Hearthstone and Gwent, and that's like it.
And so they did something unusual for Bethesda in recent years. They tend to show us the games that are immediately coming out or coming out like within the next year. They decided to show us 2 games that are planned for the next generation.
They just wanted to beat Walmart to it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And also the Walmart thing at the start, that was brilliant.
With Pete Hines, that was superb.
I hear they're good for their super low prices and ability to keep a secret.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first one was Starfield. So very short trailer. It showed a rocket taking off into space. We saw we saw stars, we saw a planet, we saw a satellite, but not much more other than that.
The one thing that kind of had it triggered in my mind when they described this is they actually mentioned next gen. This is a next gen whatever. So is this technically the first next gen title that's been announced?
There's rumours rolling around that Halo is, and a lot of like 2 or 3 of the things at Microsoft were supposedly next gen. But then there are other people saying that it means next gen Bethesda technology rather than it was just a stupid phrase to use.
That is a very stupid phrase to use if that's true.
Especially around us nerds. You know how we do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like there's no consoles have been announced. We still have yet to listen to PlayStations, but no consoles have been announced yet this year. So throwing the word like next gen around.
Scrolling around the internet and looking around like IGN and Kotaku and sites of that ilk, they are reporting that next gen probably means it's being developed for the next generation of consoles after the current. So it could be. All I know, it's an ambiguous enough trailer to not get me too hyped and wait for ages going, what is it? Oh, I need to play this game. I can't believe I'm going to wait all these years for this game. But because it's Bethesda, I do have a bit of that excitement because they make games that I have dreams about.
Yeah.
You know, there's only two companies that can do that with me, and it's Bethesda, and it's also From Software. It's, you know, I'll get into a game so bad that I'll be playing it till 4 a.m, and then I'll go to sleep, and then I'll wake up having dreamt about it and go straight back to playing it. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to whatever it is, but I'm also looking forward to putting it in the back of my mind after some other conferences and forgetting about it for a while. So it will surprise me when it comes back up in the near future.
I suspect you're looking at probably conservative guess 2020 for Starfield release. And then probably 2 or 3 years later for Elder Scrolls 6. I really think Elder Scrolls 6 is bare. Like, they just went, do you think we should make an Elder Scrolls 6? Yeah. All right, well, someone make up a title card and then we'll put that up for E3.
Guys, look, we're running out of things to port Skyrim to. Could we just make a 6th game and then we'll port that to other things?
This feels like last year's Nintendo conference when people kept asking about Metroid and they finally came out and just said, yes, we're making a Metroid, here's the title card, please stop asking us about it.
Yeah, it didn't even have a subtitle, which obviously all Elder Scrolls games do, so you can tell how early in development they are.
Anyone care to hazard a guess where it's set in Tamriel? Is it set in Tamriel?
I mean, it will be, but it could be. The problem is that online has already released about 7 expansions all over Tamriel as well. Like Somerset just came out, so that's already been covered by online.
The Elder Scrolls 6, Portsmouth.
Return to Morrowind.
Guildford. Elder Scrolls 6, Guildford.
Scunthorpe.
Bognor Regis.
Oh, Skegness. There we go. Elder Scrolls Skegness. We solved it. There's more crabs as well. Yeah. Big crabs in top hats and monocles. All right, that's pretty much everything at Bethesda. As we say, a very good, very enjoyable show. 2 shows so far I've really enjoyed. This one and Microsoft. I'm looking forward to seeing what PlayStation's got in store for us. Ubisoft, I'm a little bit excited about. I don't fully know, other than...
How much do you like The Division?
I mean, I did like The Division, but everyone kind of dropped off while I was playing it. I was playing that. I need other people, and I didn't want to play a random, so...
All I'm saying, and obviously at the time you hear this would have happened already, but if they announce a new Splinter Cell, that's all I need.
I reckon it's happening.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm gonna put my predictions in now. New Splinter Cell, Kev.
I just need to hear that twing sound, and then I'm good.
Yeah, like everyone else has been saying for weeks, they wouldn't have got Ironside back in to do a little bit of DLC.
Yes,
if
agreed.
If they didn't already have him in the studio.
Yeah, and while you're here, this will be a fun little nod.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, happy E3 to you all. It'll be wrapped up once you're listening to this, but I hope you've had a good E3, and we've certainly enjoyed this Bethesda show. We hope you've enjoyed it too. Next up, it's the Square Enix conference. We've got Tim and Pacman and Rick. So enjoy that one. After this noise.
There is a moment in everyone's life when we must make a choice. Let the world shape our destiny, or fight to become who we're meant to be.
And we are back once again, and I am joined by 2 new compatriots to actually talk us through the Square Enix presser. This section of us talking through it may last longer than the presser itself. We'll see how we do. But with myself, and I'm very pleased to say, Mr. Pacman Polar Bear, I'm very excited about podcasting with once again. Hello, sir.
Hello, what's going on, everybody? We lucked out of the whole group. We got to cover the easiest presser to cover out of the entire lot.
But I'm really looking forward to speaking to both of you. Both you and I can talk at length about almost anything, and we might be hard pushed to fill this 20 minutes. And yesterday we went over to 45 in that, so that could balance out well. But I'm also joined by Mr. Rik. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. And again, a pleasure to podcast with you again, sir.
Hello, Barrelites. It has been a while.
Barrelites? Is that what we're calling our fans now?
That's what I was thinking. I was on the toilet and I'm like, I need something catchy to call the fans. Barrelites. It was going to be like Barrelsters or something, but Barrelites just makes you sound more like apostles.
Barrelite sounds like you can't hold your barrels.
They sound like villains in Assassin's Creed or something.
Exactly. It makes you sound like Tim's got a big red hood with a barrel on it and everyone bows in front of him. They're the Barrelites. It's like, come on, let's drink the Kool-Aid.
We've achieved cult status.
And one Barrelite turns to the other Barrelite and he's like, do you know what's in the barrels? Because they explode really good.
Nobody knows what's in the barrels.
That's the philosophical question that keeps us up at night, though, isn't it? What is in the barrels?
Well, talking of exploding, let's explode into this conference, because there's so much to get through. But yeah, basically, Shadow of the Tomb Raider gave us a slightly... I was going to say explosive start, but it was more a sneaky, catchy monkey round the jungle of killing everyone with lots of murder and death.
It had quite an explosive ending, though, didn't it?
But when she smears the mud all over herself, like Predator, like Arnie in the Predator, I was like, all right, Tomb Raider, you smeared the mud, you did the Predator thing. I'm sold. I'm sold. The first one was great, and this trailer looked cool. I liked how they were like, we're not really going to talk about the adventure or the apparent Mayan apocalypse she's trying to avert. This is just her straight up mud murdering people, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I gotta say, I absolutely loved it. I've been following it since the teaser trailer and just hoping for more time that we were going to see some actual gameplay. The trailer that we got during the Microsoft conference was really cool, but to actually see the gameplay, it looks lovely. Like the heavy emphasis on stealth looks fantastic. The fact there's no hood, it's just completely clear screen. It just looks wonderful. The mechanics look great. The stealth looks great, and she's murdering fools still. Doing what she does best.
I did like the way she kind of merged into the bushes, but in quite a natural way. It didn't look like a video game disappearance. It looked like a camouflaging in the jungle foliage type thing. You know what I mean? Like, it looked a bit more realistic in that regard.
I guess the mud thing, I hope the mud thing isn't just like a preset thing that happens when that area kicks off. Like, it's actually something you can do to increase your stealth rating or something. Because I'm going to be covered in mud the entire game if that's true.
Yeah, but then you'll get dunked in a river, and, you know, like, if you have managed to avoid death in the river, then you'll come out all nicely refreshed and have to get more mud on you, perhaps.
Have you ever crawled up the bank of a river? You are going to get muddy.
That is true. But in the river itself, you know.
Yeah, and they did say that this game is going to have, like, a full, like, a much more realized swimming system, so that, you know, she can actually swim and explore underwater tombs and things like that. But I liked how they showed all those takedowns. My favorite part of the actual story elements of the trailer was when that dude's going, "I'm not jumping out of this plane." The plane just splits in half and he goes flying. I'm like, yeah, dude.
What I will say about that trailer at the beginning was a lot of the swearing felt kind of Beyond Good and Evil 2 forced.
Well, it's because we have no build up to them being that ecstatic. Because it's like, oh, we're in a plane that's crashing, and you're just like, oh, okay. But I mean that her sidekick, I guess, I can't remember his name. He was in the first one, but I'm like, how long is it before she gets separated from you? Because she's gonna get separated from you,
seconds.
man.
Again.
Yeah.
But I liked the characters in the first game, but also instantly forgettable. I couldn't tell you a single one of their names, basically, apart from Lara, obviously. But yeah, I mean, as you say, you do get separated from them quite early, so that's a ton of thing. But I thought between this and Anthem, that underwater exploration is the bow and arrow of 2019, basically, or late 2018, 2019. It's the year of underwater exploration.
Which is crazy, because underwater levels have been the bane of video games for like 40 years.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get like actual breathing apparatus, and whether, or whether it's the whole going underwater, but you have to worry about your oxygen levels and stuff like that. Because I'm a bit less keen on it if that's the case, possibly. But we will remain and see on that. They didn't show too much on that. But I think I'm right in saying that all of us got even more excited by particularly this trailer than the trailer that the footage that we'd seen previously in the Microsoft press conference and stuff. It did a good job of showing off the gameplay a bit more and getting us more excited for that game. So that was a good start.
Yeah. I got a game that I can buy on the Xbox One X because I'm only buying single player games for the Xbox One X because all my friends are on PS4. But since it's single player, and it'll run better on the X, I'm gonna get it. I'm pretty jazzed.
Yeah, I'm completely sold on it. Can't wait.
Should be good. For me, it kind of went downhill from there, but I'm guessing there are games that you two are more excited about, basically, because we got. I did say at the time. Did you guys get a note of the exact title of the Final Fantasy game they talked about later? Because I did say if Final Fantasy game names get any longer, they're going to need their own conference just to announce the game. Basically, just to announce the title of the game.
Well,
going forward.
This one, the next thing up was they talked about the Final Fantasy 14 Stormblood Monster Hunter crossover. Oh yeah, the first they talked about the Final Fantasy 14 Under the Moonlight update, which just adds some new content to the MMO.
That's a pretty big deal for the game as well, though, because it's taken us back to Ivalice, which is the setting of Final Fantasy 12. So it's bringing a mainstay game world into the online game, which I'm really excited about. But the one that you're about to talk about, I want to know what this is about.
Oh, the crossover event?
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt it's going to be anything huge because, Monster Hunter's done crossover stuff with pretty much everybody at this point, and they don't seem to be letting up. And that, the crossover event's happening this summer, and the Under the Moonlight update's coming pretty soon, too. I just wish, I love Final Fantasy XIV. I've put, 250 hours into it, but I haven't touched it for at least a year or more, just because, I started my own company and, have clients and contracts, and, I'm getting old, so I actually have to, work and make money and pay bills. So I just don't have the time to devote to it. I put enough time into video games as it is to devote even more time into a singular game MMO. Oh my god! But the update's the huge thing. The crossover event's probably just going to be some sort of gear that you can get, but I don't know. They might go all out. Maybe there'll actually be a couple Monster Hunter characters in the game or something. I don't know.
Well, the crossover event looks more like they're going to bring Rathalos into Final Fantasy XIV in a similar way that they brought...
Yeah, it looks like they're going to bring a monster in, yeah.
You know how they brought Lightning in a few years ago for the Lightning Returns crossover event? So I think that is going to be an in-game Final Fantasy XIV event as opposed to having Final Fantasy XIV armor in Monster Hunter World.
They could do both. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But yeah, it would be dope to have one of the monsters to fight in 14.
That seems more like the way to go because I know less about this than you two, but from what I've seen of Monster Hunter, there isn't that real kind of central people characters because it all seems to focus on the monsters. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, that seems to make more sense to me. And yeah, moving on from there, we got a bit more details of the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit.
Boring.
Yeah, I have little to no interest in this.
Well, I mean, I'm not the biggest Life is Strange fan, but it did seem to hit well with the fans of that game, basically. The fact that the full game is for free seems like quite an intelligent idea of bringing other people into the universe as well.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's like giving a sample almost.
Yeah. I mean, it is cool. Because it is set in the exact same universe as Life is Strange. It seems almost like, here's something to tide you over until Life is Strange 2. Which they did not talk about.
Yeah, and they did actually specify that this wasn't Life is Strange 2 as well. They actually kind of made that definitely the case. So I think that was a little nod to we're not really ready to talk about Life is Strange 2.
So here's a free game so you don't hate us.
It's a little bit like what Insomniac did between Ratchet and Clank Future and Ratchet and Clank Cracking Time, they released Quest for Booty, which was a 4-hour-long game for about a tenner, just to sort of tide you over and go, we are making the sequel. Here's something to play while you wait.
Yeah, I figure if you're a Life is Strange fan, it's free, so they're not asking anything of you, really. So you have a little something to hold yourself over. I'm a little, I'm too... I mean, I suppose if I had kids or something, or was attached in any way to Life is Strange, I'd be interested in this. But, I'm a single 36-year-old dude. I don't really want to see the adventures of a 10-year-old boy.
I thought it looked like a cute idea, at least, kind of thing. I mean, I'm giving it away for free. It might end up trying it, and it might be enough to pull me into the rest of the universe. But
yeah, it's just not the kind of cute game that I'd be playing. Like Ori and the Will-o-the-Wisps or something is the kind of cute that I would be playing.
Didn't have anthropomorphic animals, and so not your kind of cute, yeah?
Yeah. If there was a snake lady with arms, I'd be in, but no.
We're getting into some weird-ass furry territory right now.
Well, what do you expect with this type of game? Anyway, but yeah, moving on from that, I don't know, are either of you two particularly big Dragon Quest fans? It's a series I've never got into, so...
Hell yeah.
Let's talk some Dragon Quest.
Oh, man. So the Dragon Quest was one of the big showcases for this very short presser. So Dragon Quest 11, been looking for it for a while. I'm pretty sure the 3DS version only came out in Japan. So this is really the first time the West has gotten a handle on it. And Dragon Quest has always had a weird relationship with Western releases. Like, I've recently built a dedicated PC for emulation, so I've got all my old games that I'm going back and playing. So I've been playing through the Dragon Quest series from game 1 all the way up.
Couldn't that take a lifetime?
Well, it takes a long time because the series is really old, and there's quite a few side games and all sorts of stuff. And the original ones, had different naming conventions, so you have to sort of figure out what the first game actually was in English.
The first two were Dragon Warrior, weren't they, over here?
Yeah. And it's for me playing the original versions on the original systems they came out on meant getting fan made translations for them and everything else. But the series is really great. It was never as I don't know how to describe it. Like, it was never Final Fantasy. It was it was a JRPG, but it was never trying to be Final Fantasy, but it also didn't want to be too kiddie. So it was always that sort of middle ground. And of course, in the recent years, we've had Dragon Quest Builders and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm happy the game is finally here. I wish we hadn't had to wait so long for it to come. But now Dragon Quest 11 drops September 4th. And the trailer looked great. The biggest thing, it's bad. I feel bad for Kingdom Hearts because the whole time I'm watching the trailer for Dragon Quest 11, I'm like, wow, so this is what it looks like when you do English voiceover and don't screw it up.
But yeah, as I said, I find it hard to find time for JRPGs these days, and so they really have to be something that really stands out and really grabs my attention to do so. I'm not sure Dragon Quest is going to be that game when it's this deep into the series, and yeah, I always think it takes a bit of the kind of wind out of the sails when it does take so long to come over from Japan as well.
Yeah, but the beauty of the Dragon Quest series and the Final Fantasy series as well is that even though you're this deep into it, doesn't matter because the stories don't continue.
Oh, really? Is that the case with that as well? I didn't even realise that was the case. So.
Yeah. For the most part, you rarely get, like a true sequel. Although just like Final Fantasy, there have been times where that did happen a little bit, and there's tons of nods. But yeah, you can.
There's a lot of shared themes, shared monster designs, things like that. But for the most part,
a lot of teenage boys who are heroes. Apparently, God, what would fantasy worlds be without an awkward 14-year-old who can wield a sword?
Taken over by a dark wizard, probably.
Then we saw a slightly more serious-looking game, which, in a way, and because it didn't have a massive Roman numeral after it, actually made me sort of more keen to find out more details. But in a theme for kind of Square Enix continued throughout their video thing, I'm going to say more that it was more a extended sizzle reel than it was a press conference. But in a theme that kind of continued, they didn't really give as many details on this, other than the game's called Babylon's Fall, and is coming out on PS4 and Steam in 2019. But
and it's developed by Platinum.
Oh, okay, Platinum.
Which is what we should be excited for.
Yeah, because that's because I'm like, Babylon's Fall. I mean, they didn't really show anything. I can't be that interested. And then I see Platinum Games. I'm like, all right, I'm day one buying this because I love all Platinum Games' stuff. Like they even when they sort of mishit stuff, they've made some of my favorite games of all time.
Just the Bayonetta series alone are worth giving them credit for.
Yeah, I mean, I was so happy when they re-released Vanquish. Like, when that happened, I was like, oh, man, I've been dreaming about them bringing back Vanquish and letting me play it on a better system. Like, oh, dude.
Yeah, and then Nier Automata, won't say much about this because it was already announced and we've already talked about it in the press conference. Also, it's, an already released game, even though a complete version of it, coming to Xbox, all good.
And another Platinum game.
Yeah, all good. Then we got to see a bit of Octopath Traveler. I don't know about you guys. I tried the demo. I really liked the art style. I kind of liked a bit of the gameplay. And then it got to an unskippable cutscene that I had to sit through again and really couldn't be bothered and haven't gone back to. I might retry this before release to see if I can be tempted.
I'm picking it up because I got a Switch and it makes a great fit on a Switch. So if you it's basically like one of the quote unquote like old school styled graphical JRPGs from back in the day. So if you dig that, it's worth getting.
Yeah, this is one I might try and make some time for.
I don't have a Switch and I'm gutted because this is one that I really want to pick up. So I'm going to have to sweet talk my girlfriend into letting me borrow her Switch for a while.
Yeah, for about 60 hours, but still. Right, yeah, then again, we saw more Just Cause. We didn't get to see many more details than we'd already seen in the Xbox press conference. They did seem to detail... I hadn't seen anything about the weather effects before. Was that new, or had I just not heard it?
I mean, they showed weather in the other games, but they hadn't said outright that was an actual gameplay feature.
It's never been a villain before.
Yeah, it's never been a film. So the weather effects they showed was really good, and you can actually directly add rockets to your tethers now instead of tethering something and then shooting a rocket.
That looked like they'd lifted that from Metal Gear a bit. No.
Yeah.
And
that's fine. And Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
When
yeah.
you're about with the physics in Breath of the Wild, you can do stuff like that.
The big takeaway for me is them taking a good 2 minutes out of their little trailer to be like, listen, we know the AI in this game is beyond just completely stupid. The AI in this game has never been challenging or smart or really anything besides something to destroy. So we promise the AI is smarter in this game. We promise.
That's good news. And yet, more Just Cause is never a bad thing. I really loved the first two games. I didn't really play the third. I'm hoping they'll give me enough excuses to jump back in.
I hope it releases in a better state than 3, because 3 took months before they fixed all those bugs. It was rough.
And that's one of the reasons I didn't bother to pick it up. I've got a bit of the open world fatigue generally, and then hearing that was just enough to make me not want to. As you say, hopefully they're releasing a better state. Yeah, but hopefully it gets a better state at release, so we'll see.
I've never played one.
Really? Oh, you're missing out.
Yeah, it's worth picking one up at some time. Right, now, we then got a very quick taste of A Quiet Man. Again, very scant on details, just looked like a deaf hero in a kind of beat-em-up type thing.
It looks like the bouncer, but the bouncer's deaf.
Yes, that's about it. But then, yeah, the one thing I thought was a bad thing in that they had some actual real life video that then went into gameplay, and it made the gameplay look terrible in terms of graphically.
You know what was weird is, and I don't want to assume someone's ethnicity, but it looked like they had two white guys pretending to be two Hispanic guys to sort of attack a white dude in an alley, and then the white dude kicked the shit out of them.
Yeah, that kind of what it looked like.
And I was like,
well, this is Trump's America.
It was just, I mean, I don't know what the logic was.
Maybe they were bad hombres, who knows?
Yeah, it just, I'm like, the whole thing was confused, and I don't know why they bothered using live video in that for that tiny little segment.
Yeah,
that
seemed really weird.
The whole thing was just off.
Yeah, and then we came to the big finish, and their big finish was, hey, you remember that trailer from yesterday? We're going to show that trailer again, pretty much.
Yeah. And
Slightly
there's like,
different cut of it.
Elsa's scared to use her ice powers because she might hurt people. Did we dedicate a movie to that?
Yeah, and she Hadoukenned an ice moose. And
you can make that argument for everything, but I will say I am massively excited about Frozen being in Kingdom Hearts 3. I've wanted this world in there since Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced, because the film's cool, and that world looks like it'd make an amazing level in a video game, especially with Marshmallow, the big snowman, all the spikes and shit on him. He's going to trash everything.
Insert Let It Go reference in here.
Yeah, I've never been able to get into Kingdom Hearts, because, like, I mean, the story in Kingdom Hearts is pure nonsense. It's like
more complicated than Metal Gear Solid.
It's the most delightful version of like Japanese craziness you've ever seen, just mashing in Disney characters and all sorts of other crazy stuff. But I mean, it looked beautiful, and I know
really?
a lot of my friends love the Kingdom Hearts series. My only really complaint with it was, what's up with the voiceover? Like, the voiceover for Kingdom Hearts has never been particularly strong, but it seems like it seems to be like a second off. Like they start talking almost a second off or behind the mouth movements of the characters on screen, which is something, even if you have a dub, you try to sort of follow that. It just sounded weird, and their voices seemed like layered on top of the background audio, so their voices stand out really clearly. It was jarring.
Yeah, but right, for me, the most jarring thing about that was not the voiceovers. It's the gameplay and everyone's love for it. I don't understand it. At one point I did yell, "Make Donald Duck cry," and Coleman informed me that was a thing that actually happened, and it was in a really sad scene. I'm like, that cannot happen in a serious sad scene. That is a too funny thing to witness. Donald Duck crying cannot happen seriously.
What kind of a monster are you, laughing at a sad duck?
Well, to be fair, ducks are evil creatures.
Yeah,
but...
and he's an evil duck as well, to be fair. Like, he's generally a bad guy, and bad things happen to him and you laugh at him. That's Donald Duck all over, but hey. Right, but yeah, I mean, we need to wrap up a bit. I was, like, literally bitterly, as in it made me bitter and disappointed that they didn't even mention the word Avengers in the whole thing. I thought they generally they ripped over things and really didn't give as many details on some of the stuff that would have been interesting, and spent most of the time showing us stuff that had already been shown in other press conferences. A lot of people saying that they might see more details in Sony, but I thought Sony was saying that none of these games would necessarily be featured heavily in their event already.
I mean,
so
Square Enix, I mean, with the exception of, Babylon's Fall and The Quiet Man, all of their stuff was talking about things that are coming out this year, except for Kingdom Hearts 3, which drops in January. Everything else is dropping this year, with the exception of Babylon's Fall and Quiet Man. So it seemed like they were just sort of like, that was their focus. Like, what's the stuff we've got coming out this year? But last year they teased the Avengers project, which all they did was show the Avengers shield, and then they said nothing. They didn't even show us another still picture of a shield. They made no mention whatsoever of the Final Fantasy VII remake. They didn't even like, here's a little something, here's a picture of his sword, nothing.
Yeah, that game's in development hell at the minute, though, isn't it?
Yeah, by the sounds of it, it's been kicked around a lot. But that sounds like one of those things where we might see details on Sony, but if not, I think that's a bit of a kick in the teeth for fans that have been waiting for details on that, basically.
And we mentioned they made they never said anything about Life is Strange 2 directly. They showcased Dragon Quest XI, but they made no mention of Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Like, I think they would have been much better off not announcing they were having a press conference, literally saying, we're not having a press conference this year, but we're making a few announcements in trailer forms, and just having them as separate trailers and detailing them a bit more than that. And I think sticking them all together and announcing it like it was a press conference may have got them more attention, but I don't necessarily think that was positive for them, basically, overall.
I just think that they shouldn't have given all their trailers to everyone else to show first.
That did not help as well, basically, yeah.
Yeah. And they also didn't mention Left Alive, which I'm not sure. I think it's like the spiritual successor to Front Mission Evolved. So I was hoping to see some stuff about Left Alive, what they didn't mention, and I was really expecting to see some more stuff about Valkyrie Profile.
Yeah, there was nothing on that. But yeah.
Because I think 2019 is the 20th anniversary, and they've recently been, they recently ported one of the Valkyrie Profile games, I think earlier this year. So it seemed like there was some movement with Valkyrie Profile, and nothing. They didn't even say like, hey, look forward to something in 2019 when the anniversary comes. Nothing. So it's like, but I think most of the general public are just upset that they made no mention of Final Fantasy VII or Avengers.
Yeah, but really we knew that we weren't going to get any Final Fantasy VII because it would have overshadowed the release of Kingdom Hearts that's coming out.
I don't even think it would at this stage. I think they needed to give some of that for the fans. But anyway, look, we are well over time. Thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish we had about 3 hours and about 10 more things to actually talk about, but we don't, unfortunately. So we're going to have to get the hell out of here. We'll leave it to the next guys coming in and talking about the Sony conference, which I think is the next one.
Yeah, I'm going to be on that.
Yep. So, that's a good one to get you back on for, Mr. Sony. And sorry.
I think Nintendo's
we got Ubisoft. We got Ubisoft in between actually as well, and you're coming back for Nintendo, Rick. That's good. But yeah, we got Ubisoft next up, and then Sony. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me, guys, and I will catch up with you all soon.
And trumpets, it's the Ubisoft press conference. We finished watching it. We're going to talk about it. I am Coleman. I've got Diarmuid returning with me.
Hello there.
And from Geek Speak, Alex.
Apparently Panda Butts, but not Aisha Tyler Butts. There's a whole discussion here. I don't know. Did he just fall off? did
I thought I'd leave an awkward hang and see what happens. Yes, the next lineup in our coverage of E3 press conferences this year, Ubisoft. We have finished the Ubisoft press conference and we're going to talk about it. That's kind of what we do on this podcast. Anyway, so that's been, and I want to know everyone's impressions of the show overall, and also what they were looking forward to going in and what they're now looking forward to coming out. So, Alex, would you like to kick us off, please?
Okay, so overall impressions, I think Ubisoft nailed the showmanship of the show. Like, it was a lot of fun to watch. They've got people awkwardly falling, fake falling, obviously, on expensive equipment because trials. I don't know why, but made sense. Doing stupid things. They had panda dancings, which, if you have to talk about jazz dance, you might as well get over it within the first 5 minutes of the show, or however long that was. Yeah, it was good. It was fun. It was kind of, exciting. You didn't kind of fell asleep at the end of the show.
So what were you looking forward to going in, and what's now the thing you're looking forward to coming out?
Okay, that's hard. Going in, I guess new Assassin's Creed, which I kind of thought was a little bit disappointing after I watched everything they showed.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not so much, but now that I've seen stuff, super excited for Skull and Bones and Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I'm sure you also jizzed all over.
Yeah, in terms of the show itself, I thought it was brilliant. As Alex said, the showmanship, they put on a show. Like, the way they opened really got people involved. Similar to when we discussed Bethesda with the Andrew WK, that didn't really bring up the crowd, but this kind of Just Dance 2019 version certainly did. In terms of what I was hoping to see, I was actually hoping to see Splinter Cell. I think many people were, and I obviously disappointed that we didn't see it in the end. But in terms of after the show, Beyond Good and Evil 2 looks outstanding.
So good.
It really looks excellent. I cannot wait to get my hands on that game. It sounds like it's going to be a while off, and I love the initiative that they have now with the art, getting Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his company Hit Record involved to kind of supply the flavor art for the game, whether that's music that you'll hear in the streets or posters, or there's multiple other things that are going to be going on. I love that. It's excellent. Like, that's incredibly intelligent of them to do.
By the way, just because they haven't really clarified this in their presentation, but then following that, they clarified that on Twitter, if anyone's actually going to get their artwork, music, writing, whatever talent in the game, they're going to get paid for it. This is not just like, oh, you submit your free stuff and we're going to take advantage for it. No, they actually have funds
It's
to pay
not
people.
for exposure.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, they should have really kind of clarified that during the presentation, but then he addressed that over Twitter.
According to Joseph Gordon-Levitt on Twitter, he said that was part of their script initially, but it seems to have been trimmed out for time, and then they didn't realise that was a vital part that they'd missed out.
I mean, that's kind of important. I guess if you're super rich, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you might kind of forget that, but other than that, it's kind of important.
Yeah, I think because he's kind of in charge of this whole initiative, so it's very important for him. But I highly doubt he has script approval for the entire show. So he was maybe in the like dress rehearsal or whatever they did, it was there, and yeah. So I think the tweet afterwards certainly, yeah, that was necessary. Very, very necessary.
I'm kind of on the same boat as you guys. I thought, it was peppy, it was fun. It wasn't quite up there with Microsoft and Bethesda, but it was, close third. There was a distinct lack of, just one more thing, which is always my favourite bit of any of these shows. And a lot of people were expecting, because that's usually the slot reserved for Tom Clancy, unless you're a snowboarding game. So there was expected to be a Splinter Cell there, but that obviously didn't happen. Yeah, on the way in, I wasn't really sure what I was looking forward to. I'd actually totally forgotten about Beyond Good and Evil. I've been waiting for it for so long, and then when they finally announced it, it was so different to what I was expecting. Not in a bad way, it's something I'm looking forward to, but it's not quite top priority now until I see more gameplay and can get hyped about it. But we're getting more pre-rendered cutscenes. I marked out a little bit for Jade reappearing, because I thought we were in like a really far past type prequel, not early enough to have had a Jade in there, because I'm pretty sure they said that in one of their scripts at some point. But anyway.
Speaking of gameplay, and sorry for interrupting you, was I the only one really annoyed that they haven't full screened the gameplay and showed it from the stage? And I was like, I can't see anything. Like, it was 5 seconds, so it wasn't very long, and then you couldn't see anything properly because it was so far away. And I guess they've done that on purpose for some reason. They were trying to hide something.
Exactly. I think it might have been the footage they showed off previously, which it was more of like a test footage type thing, and I'm looking more for a type of world tour type footage with some gameplay rather than that kind of thing. But I'm sure that will come later on in the future. But until that time, I'm putting my desires of Beyond Good and Evil, to the side a little bit and just waiting for that. I'm trying to taper my expectations. Coming out, I'm actually really excited for Skull and Bones, which I wasn't so excited for last year. I think that looks a hell of a lot better this year.
Oh god, it looks so good.
It does. No Kraken this year, though.
No Kraken this year. No, I want to see the damn Kraken. And they put up a second trailer. I was like, here comes the Kraken. Oh. Fine, but that better be in the released game. So, anyway. Alright, so we'll run through what was actually shown off. As we said, there was a dancing panda to show off Just Dance 19. They always tend to kick off the Ubisoft press conference with some form of Just Dance troupe. A lot of the times it's quite cringy, and it looks like they've locked the doors and don't let the journalists escape. We must subject them to our dance. This time it was harmless. It was fine. I'm getting used to it as it goes on. A lot of speculation as to who the panda was. It was just a dancer. It was fine. Then we saw Beyond Good and Evil 2, another pre-rendered trailer. Looked fine. Monkey is on top form. They need more Monkey in the trailer, though, I think. And then, obviously, the Jade reveal. That was awesome. Then Joseph Gordon-Levitt took to the stage and spoke about hitrecord.org and how you can get your content in the game, as Diarmuid said, wall art, videos that are shown on monitors and things, and music. So that is a really cool thing to look at. Then they spoke about Rainbow Six Siege having 35 million players, which the guy came out and said that he would hug everyone if his arms were big enough.
Aww.
One at a time, mate. One at a time. Don't be an idiot.
Are they active players, though? Are they active?
No, they're all dancing pandas. We've discovered this now. Everyone is a dancing panda in the world of Ubisoft.
Nice.
There's 35 million dancing pandas playing Rainbow Six Siege right now, concurrently.
Maybe it was Yves Guillemot in the outfit.
Yes! This E3, I do not want to be on the stage. I am going to be a dancing panda. And then I will come out at the end, and they will think there is more game. No, more panda. With that song, I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-mm.
Do you have the same voice for Yves Guillemot that you have for David Cage? Just out of interest.
No, my David Cage is more like this.
I've asked for it, really.
Bonjour, I'm David Cage. I love to rub polygons all of my naked body. Then we saw one of the nice little comedy highlights. So this is the guy who came out last year as a tag team with one of the fellas who worked on Blood Dragon, which they wore onesies that had bacon print all over them and flaming Titantrons in the background. This year came out on a tiny dirt bike dressed as Evel Knievel and then proceeded to trip over and smash a podium with his face.
You know, I gotta give that guy, right? He's one of the top... Or
he's
the
like
head
one
of the
heads of the studios.
He's the
Red
head
Links.
he's the head of a studio. He's coming out and just having so much fun, making a complete fool of himself. Even if we know it's all staged, it doesn't matter. He looks silly. He's having a lot of fun. He's like, yeah, I'm head of a studio, but hey, I'm gonna wear this silly costume and come out on this bike and trip all over this fake setup, and everyone's gonna laugh. It's great.
Evel Knievel's jumpsuit is not a silly costume, Alex.
Whatever.
You don't know.
Yeah, clearly.
Goddamn millennials. Anyway, then they showed off a trailer for Trials Rising. It showed the 4-player multiplayer stuff and lots of really painful looking deaths.
Oh god, it was so good.
The one where they fall into a tar pit and then the tar pit catches fire, that was quite impressive. I wish they opened with the trailer, or you could have had them come to the stage and do a silly pratfall and stuff, then show the trailer, then talk about it, because I kind of checked out halfway through. And it wasn't until the deaths in the trailer that I really started getting into this again.
I actually disagree purely because they talked about the game, gave us some information. I can't remember any of that information now. However, then they showed the trailer, and in our group we were just kind of singing along to it, and suddenly the deaths started happening, and everyone started laughing. It left you thinking about Trials in a really positive way. I think if they'd done the trailer first and then talked, by the end of it you would be like, ugh. More talking. Oh no. All
right. Different reactions for different people. I get that. Then we saw more of Division 2, which was shown off at the Xbox conference. They opened up with another pre-rendered cutscene trailer, which was interesting after the way they shown this off at Microsoft was gameplay. And it looked interesting. It shows different aspects of this, not post-apocalyptic world, but post-disaster world, I guess, where we're in DC and some communities are there's a big gated behind big wall communities all protected and living their lives. Then there's crazy people out in the world, then there's cults and things, and then the Division are going to come in and answer the message of paper airplanes written by children, which there are a million photoshops of that image now. There's dick butts, there's
my favorite.
There's a couple of good IGN ones that relate to their podcast. It's quite funny. Anyway, Division 2. Now, we all played the Division. Some of us got into it more than others. Some of us quit because dogs were getting shot. And some of us quit out after all their friends had left and they got bored playing it on their own. What are you two thinking about Division 2?
I'm interested. I like the March release date. It's away from everything else. Obviously, Anthem and every other game known to man seems to be coming out in February 2019. So March is a good time. Hopefully, we'll have finished the multitude of games that have come out then.
No, we won't. Do you see how many are coming out in February? And
it's
they're all
like they want to kill us.
Yes, there are a lot of games. But I am looking forward to it purely because I really like the Division. They had, at launch, they had a lot of issues with the progression system. Like, once you leveled up a bit too much, you couldn't really play with your friends. And that kind of messed it up. They fixed that later, but at that stage it was kind of, people had checked out. And it was difficult to convince people to go back. If they launch correctly, and I love the announcement that they made that the first year will have like 3 expansions or DLC drops, and all of it is free.
That seems like something that games as experiences need.
Yes.
Because I know a big problem of I left the Division kind of against my will, but only because like all my friends had stopped playing or jumped to the PC at this point, and
yeah,
I
you
really
killed
wasn't.
all the dogs, you monster.
Okay, that's one example. And you get XP, and I was saving you. Those dogs were rabid.
No,
so
they were adorable, and they just wanted to be patted on the head, and you just shot them.
Anyway, I tried joining up with randoms. I wasn't really enjoying it. I wanted to play with friends. That was the reason I picked up the game. So I, kind of kicking and screaming, I ended up leaving. Then at some point, some friends were coming back into it, but they were different. We were too different a level for it to be fun. Or others were saying, "Oh yeah, I'll play. Have you got the DLC?" No, I haven't, and I'm not paying for it. Oh, well, you're out of luck then. So I like the idea that the games as a service to get people back in. If there is a drop off and make sure they come back for the DLC, give it away for free.
Yeah, I mean, that's who was it? Anthem mentioned the fact that like all of their content will be released for free. What you'll get in terms of like what they'll get additionally for you paying is like specific cosmetic items and stuff like that, and not power. That's the kind of way games as a service should go, and I'm hoping that what they've implied with the Division 2 is that kind of approach. Especially as they've released the first bit of content, like the first year of content for free. I'm sure there's going to be like, some kind of merchant store that you can customize your character in. That's fine. I don't mind that. If people want to spend money on that, that's their own business. But I like the approach that they've come with this. The only question that I was left with after the Division 2 was the discrepancy between the Xbox reveal and the one at Ubisoft. Because in the Xbox one, it looked like there was 4 players in a team.
And then on Ubisoft, they seem to focus on 3.
Yes. So that was weird.
But isn't it because there are 3 different classes? Isn't that what we've established after we've discussed that they were showcasing that there's 3 different classes? Because at the end of the game, you can specialize in 3 different things. So maybe that's why they were showcasing it.
I think we all ate some bad cheese. We hallucinated a 4th character.
We hallucinated Duke. Or Megan, or whichever one of those fake.
One of them.
It was the one that needed to
Kit.
be.
Oh, Kit, yes.
Kit, there we go. Kit was the. We did. Kit was all a cheese dream.
Do you think it was Harrington?
Kit Harington was all a cheese dream. He knows nothing. We know nothing of him. Anyway, yeah, Division 2 looks great. Building a little bit more on what Microsoft had already shown off. I'm still on the fence about it. I'll have to see if other people jump in and I'll do the same, but we'll see. Some Mario Rabbids stuff. Mario Cross Rabbids Kingdom Battle, was it?
No, it was Kingdom Battle, but it was Donkey Kong Adventure.
Yes,
so
I was trying to remember the title of the actual game that the DLC came to, because it has got a silly name. But yeah, the Donkey Kong thing. So originally the Donkey Kong DLC was announced and people thought that was just a Donkey Kong DLC character and a couple of levels. This looks to be like a full-on expansion and they're treating it as such.
Yeah, so new kind of allies as well as new enemies. So yeah, it does look a lot more involved than what we initially thought.
Yes, and then they pulled out a band and I was very excited because I thought Andrew WK is coming back out. But I got a close second. It was Grant Hopkirk, who I am a big fan of his music in games. He does the music for Mario Cross plus Rabbids, also things like Banjo and Kazooie, ukulele. So that was really cool seeing him on stage. The only problem I had though was because they have a live band on stage, the cameras are always panning to the bands. I really wanted to see the movie that was playing on the screen.
Same. I was halfway through. I was thinking, okay, we've shown the band. We now see that it is a real band playing. Now just show the gameplay with the band playing, kind of away. And
because that looks really interesting.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing like this weird kind of samurai shogun type thing with the Donkey Kong Rabbid. So I wonder what's going on there. I really wish I enjoyed that game because I'd love to play more of that because the videos, the cutscenes are entertaining, but that's all I want. Then we had Skull and Bones.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Good. We're all excited.
Good. Very
it's
good.
Sea of Thieves minus the cartooniness, lots more detail.
No, it's not Sea of Thieves because you don't get to share your ship with someone. You are in charge of your own ship and all people on there, and you can switch through different positions.
I thought you'd be able to have a team. That would be
So, well, your team, you can have a team, but your team is made up of other ships.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's not
fine.
No,
fine.
But to be fair, I do hope that they learned from Sea of Thieves because they're now coming out much later, and that they see what Sea of Thieves done and what it hasn't done well and what it has done well on the other side of it as well, and they have a time to course correct. And I think they actually are super lucky that Sea of Thieves came up way before them, because while they may look graphically or art-wise completely different, I think in essence they kind of answer the same need, not for speed, but for the waves, for the kraken, for the looty, for the booty, for one of those.
You would want to go for the booty.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot darker as well, and if the trailer from last year's anything to go by, much bigger Kraken as well.
I also like the fact that it seems to be hinting at some sort of a payday system where you can join up with people and take on a mission, and then at the end just kill all the other people and take all their loot.
Interestingly as well, the guy presenting decided to drop an F-bomb, and I really think that was just a response to, well, Bethesda did it and it got a big cheer, so just drop an F-bomb on stage, see what happens. I'm going to do it, guys. I'm going to say the F word.
I was actually surprised that in the Beyond Good and Evil 2 bit, because the first trailer had so much swearing, that there was hardly any in the next one.
Yeah, there wasn't enough of the monkey.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, monkey down. Elijah Wood, I know him from movies. He was on stage. He's got that Transference video game, and there was a guy with him, and I like that guy's look. A strong look.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, my notes for this section just say nope.
So this is the horror VR, psychological horror VR game.
Noping the hell out of here.
Yeah,
Too scary.
I think we all noped out of that, yeah.
Just to give listeners a behind-the-scenes thing, Tim is in the same room. I said VR. He lifted his arms in celebration. So there you go.
Yeah, do you know what? Before we recorded, I actually turned out to die, and it'd be like, can we just completely ignore this game and make Tim really angry? Because there's one VR title mentioned in the whole Ubisoft conference, and we'll just swim right past by it. But no.
Excellent. So moving on then.
Yes, exactly. There you go.
No, seriously. Did anyone have anything? Any impressions on Transference?
I mean, it looked good. I liked the kind of the introduction of live action stuff and the kind of the gameplay. I wonder how that's going to work in VR. Are you still going to be able to kind of move around that dude's face? Is that going to be 3D rendered, or is that just... Yeah, so that's going to be really weird. Yeah, they couldn't really show us much of the gameplay. It just looks like some sort of exploration, survival horror, thriller thingy. But it looks interesting, but I will definitely not be playing it because I am a scaredy cat.
Okay.
Same here.
Here's something I was completely cynical about on the way in and now like the look of on the way out. Starlink. So this was shown off last year. It seemed like they'd announced it about 2 years too late after the whole boom of Toys to Life. This is a game that looks a bit like No Man's Sky, but there is some gunplay in there as well. There is a story mode, and also you build spaceships with toys on your controller that then reflect on what you're playing as in the game. I was really thinking this is going to be a terrible idea, and now I'm going to buy one.
Wait a second!
Well, wait, there's more. So with their collaboration with Ubisoft, they've announced that Star Fox is in the game on the Switch versions, and now I'm well in on this.
Yeah, we actually came to the realization as we were watching that trailer, and then Star Fox was there. We were like, damn, I'm going to have to buy this game now.
That was literally my thought process. It's like, I was making fun of it the whole way through, and we got to the end, and went, oh, and now here's this trailer, and then Star Fox and Fox McCloud pops up, and I'm like, oh, balls, I'm going to have to spend money on this.
But only on Switch. It's only on Switch with Star Fox, yes.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to this game just because I want more Star Fox, and because the last Star Fox game was utter pap. Just the controls.
True.
The rest of it was fine, but the controls were horrible.
Nintendo can't make a new Star Fox game, so let's see if Ubisoft can make one.
Let's farm it out to Ubisoft to make the game instead.
Yeah.
Okay. And also Miyamoto, Gomel came out to the stage. He called up Miyamoto to the stage, and they gave Miyamoto the prototype model of the Starship model for the Star Fox. So, and he, and I liked as well, they handed it to him and went, do you like it? Do you like it?
Yeah,
really awkward.
yeah. We really want to know. Don't you dare say no.
Now there's a bunch of fanboys out back. Go talk to them. What? No. And then Miyamoto was never seen again.
Bless his heart. He's such a smiley, happy man.
He is always nice to see on stage.
I think it's in part two, he doesn't know what's happening around him, so he has no choice but to smile and nod.
Ignorance is bliss, isn't it?
Anyway, they did give a release date for Starlink as well. That's coming out on the 16th of October, PC, PS4, and Xbox One. But to get the Star Fox version, you need to get Nintendo Switch's version, which I will. So the PC starter for edition for Honor is now going to be free going forward, and then they showed off some new DLC for Honor coming forward, called Marching Fire, which is adding Chinese characters.
Actually, I think the free version or the starter kit is only free for the next week.
Yeah, 11th to 18th.
I think they had a date range, so I think it's just but if you can download it on Uplay now for free, basically.
Okay. For Honor, I don't think you played it, did you, Alex?
No, but is Tim lifting his hands up again in excitement?
No, he's not listening.
Yeah, anyway.
Diarmuid?
Yeah, I played it at launch. I was more playing my housemate's copy than my own. I didn't buy it myself. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the combat was really good. But I didn't think there was enough there at the start to kind of keep me hooked. And once my housemate went through the story mode, he said, yeah, it was good. But that was it. Like, once he was done with the story, he had no interest in continuing playing. So I'm hoping that this new Marching Fire update that they announced will have some additional story stuff. And if I can find it cheaply, then yeah, I'll definitely be picking that up myself.
Okay.
Or, for free on the PC. 11 to 18.
Yeah, I might give it a try. I might go back into it. I played the closed alpha beta and then open beta, and I really got into the beta, but after I played enough of that, I realised that I didn't need the full game because I've played enough of it already. And I don't know. I think enough time's passed where I might go back and see what the improvements are, because they've got their own dedicated servers now.
Yeah.
It's apparently running a lot smoother, loading a lot faster. There's PS4 Pro editions, and I have one of those now. So
I've read that they've fixed the balancing, which was the big issue, especially online, because people would pick certain characters, and that would be it. There'd be unblockable hits that they could put in and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, they've fixed all of that now. So if they have, then this makes this a perfect time to kind of jump back in, because they're adding in a load of new content, including Chinese warriors.
Yes. That's
the new faction.
Why did I think they look like Genghis Khan? Is that totally me projecting?
Different empire. They're the Mongol ones. But
yeah,
it looked like Dynasty Warriors. That's how I know it was.
Yeah, that was it.
Right.
Me, as the trailer was showing, me and Tim were talking. We said Tim said something about Dynasty Warriors, and then I saw I saw the staff come out of the cloud with like just the hand, and went, oh, speaking of Dynasty Warriors, and then now become the Chinese guys. I'm like, ha ha! I'm infinitely more interested in this game now. It's weird because you mentioned the story mode being good. I remember the opening to that story, and I hadn't thought about it until they showed that pre-rendered cutscene. I went, wasn't there a story to this game? Did it pay off? Or was that just a way of setting it up?
There was a story. Apparently, it does pay off. In what way, I don't know, because I didn't play it myself. But apparently, it was good.
There was a witch. She stole some people, made them fight. The end. All right, cool. Then the Crew 2, that is going to be out soon. There is an open beta that will be coming out on the
21st.
I knew something was happening because I was playing my PlayStation this morning, and I got a pop-up notification saying there was an update for the closed beta application. So I thought something might be in the works.
Yeah, they did say there was a preload tonight, but it's opening on the 21st. Yeah.
Cool. Have you tried the Crew 2 yet?
I tried the beta as well, the closed one. I was immediately put off by the controls.
Yep.
Of the car. It just felt way too squiggly. and just kind of, it didn't feel like there was any complexity to it, especially once you got in the boats. The boats just felt awful. And then I kind of didn't like in the races, it was freaking impossible to win. The rubber banding was so bad. Like, you do a perfect race, and then the last corner, someone would just shoot past you.
Yeah, I had similar problems, but I found the controls very sluggish. But one thing I really did like, and I forgot to mention this while I was talking about it on the show before, there was a race I was playing, and all of a sudden you're in the boat, and the city horizon just kind of folds over, kind of like the Inception movie. And I really like this idea. It only happens in the races, not in the open world, obviously. But I like that idea. You could be racing and then suddenly you're racing vertically, and that's a really interesting idea. Want to see how that plays out more, but I really didn't enjoy the beta. I'll see if there's any improvements made for the open one. But I can't see myself picking this up on release, to be honest.
I'll put it this way: when I played the beta, I basically made the decision then to pick up on Rush. So it was one or the other for me, and I made my decision. I don't know if I'll ever get the Crew 2, but we'll see.
We'll see. And lastly, I think Alex should take the lead on this one because it's Assassin's Creed, and she seems to like that.
Yeah, I really like Assassin's Creed. Well, this is a lot more RPG-like. There is branching dialogues. For the first time, you can choose whether you want to play a bloke or a girl. Woohoo! There's apparently romances, so guys, I'm on board with that. But one thing that put me off is that it looks so much like Origins. Like, so much like Origins. And it's, when they took decisions to take a year away from Assassin's Creed, I think I was cheering very loudly with the rest, pretty much with everyone, even though I loved Syndicate. I thought Syndicate was great. And what I've played with Origins, which is huge, and I've not actually managed to complete it through, but I've also really enjoyed that too. And then to go into the game that is sort of in a similar era, although it's now set in Greece. And by the way, if you listen to Tim mumble about Sparta, he doesn't know his history from his ass. Let's just not even go into there. I love you, honey, but seriously. Anyway.
Well, he's seen 300.
Oh yeah, he's clearly, and that's where all his history knowledge comes from. Sparta was Greece city-state. It's still in Greece. Anyway, moving on. It looks very similar. UI is completely, absolutely copy-pasted from Origins to here. I think, they haven't really done much to the engine and how everything looks. Look, I guess the RPG aspect of it will be enough to drag me in because I said all these branching dialogues and obviously romances. Come on, let me have virtual sex with NPCs and I'm right there, clearly. Yes, but I don't know. That just put me off a little bit because it was just, I just sing this. It was just there, and then to have exactly that copy-pasted into there is just... I don't know, maybe it's just me completely nitpicking it and it's not such a big a deal, but it was a little bit off-putting for me.
No, I think you're right in that, yeah, it's very obviously same engine, same everything. It's just a new map and area and story and whatever. But when the initial leak happened, because I assumed that they were going to do another, as you say, take a break, do another year and then release the next one, the fact that this was leaked and we've just had Origins, I kind of knew that they were going to base that then on the first game, similar to Assassin's Creed 2 and then Revelations and Brotherhood and Revelations. They were all kind of in the same engine, same UI, same everything, except, they added little bits and pieces here and there. So that kind of made sense to me. But yeah, at the same time, it's disappointing to see that. But at the same time, Origins had a good UI and good combat and good... Yeah. So it's not exactly hurtful that it's going back to the same thing again. I hope they add quite a bit of extra stuff, though.
I mean, I thought they focused too much on the Toki, and honestly, to me, the strongest points of Origins were the two main protagonists, who were so incredibly vibrant, and they stood out as different characters with their journeys, that's what got me into the story more than Egyptian setting, more than updated combat, more than anything else. And with this one, we just so far got a her and a him that kind of looked too generic, and they didn't really get much into that, but maybe there'll come a time and they will.
See, with me, I loved Syndicate. Shame on me, I'd never finished it though, because I had more to play at the time. And every time, same with Origins, same with this one and Odyssey and Origins, when they revealed them, I'm looking at it the whole time going, I really should play Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It was such a good game. Because it was like the ultimate Assassin's Creed for me. And then looking at Origins and looking at this, I'm not a fan of that direction where they've tried to add these more RPG elements to it, because I like Assassin's Creed for being Assassin's Creed, basically. However, at the end, I was more hooked onto this because there's one element of Greek mythology that is like head and shoulders my favourite thing in Greek mythology.
Minotaur?
That's the Minotaur. I am a big old Minotaur fan. Give me a horny hoof man. I want to fight him. It's like my favorite ever since infant school. I've been a big Minotaur fan. Like, give me a bull, man. Come on, let's do this. So I'm looking forward to that part, and it obviously like much like they did with the Egyptian god thing, where they'd have the kind of side missions and going off and fighting Egyptian gods. It's going to be that, but with Greek mythology, and that infinitely appeals to me more than the Egyptian setting.
Can I be a history nerd for 1 second? Or rather for about 20 seconds? Well, I don't know, maybe for 2 minutes. Anyway.
I'll give you 10 and a half seconds.
Yeah, that's not going to work. Anyway, so what's a little bit confusing me and intriguing me at the same time is that clearly everything we've seen, it has a lot of references to 300 and Leonidas. There's a spear of Leonidas. But obviously the Odyssey is referring to the Homer's Odyssey, which is one of the first...
No, it's not. It's referencing the red hat that your character will throw onto another person and inhabit their body or an object.
Sorry. Oh, I picked so much. Okay, shut up, Coleman. Anyway. Back to Odyssey. Got completely sidetracked there. But Odyssey was a poem by Homer, one of the
Simpson.
most famous. Yes, that one. Not that one, of course. One of the first kind of main written pieces of writing ever after the Iliad that follows the path of, the story of Odyssey. The guy who fought in the Trojan War of 10 years and he's traveled back to home where his wife and when his son assumed he is dead. So there's a whole different thing, and I'm just not sure why they named it Odyssey and if that relates to the whole Iliad or Homer or Odyssey in the first place. And how does Sparta feature into there? There's a couple of historical jumps that are confusing me, but maybe that's also for my kind of I don't know, very Spottish-like knowledge of that time.
They needed a secondary title, and they took a look at the cliched secondary titles of video games, and Odyssey was right up there, so they thought they'd have that this year.
I know, but isn't that disappointing?
I think Infinite was taken this year, so...
And so was Eternal, and...
Rising's taken this year.
Taken. Yeah, there was...
Oh man, I'm looking forward to Assassin's Creed Revengeance.
Look, here's the thing though. I hope it will establish itself as connecting somehow to those two stories, because I thought the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed or Assassin's Creed series has always tried to root itself into history, and especially when they did this whole purely exploration tour in Origins was so great, and they made such a great step in people learning actual history of the area through playing video games, that if they just picked out the name because it sounded sort of Greekish and sort of kind of fitting the era, it will be completely disappointing. And I actually have more faith in them and think that they have chosen that title with some kind of thought, and it leads to somewhere. And yes, I believe in you, Ubisoft. Don't disappoint me.
You are my only hope.
Yes, you
okay.
are.
That's about all the time we've got for Ubisoft, so I think we're going to have to call it a day there. Thanks for coming on, guys. Next, we're going to have the PlayStation section of the show. I believe that is myself, Alex, and Pacman Polar Bear.
Woohoo! I don't know.
Yes? Okay.
Are we excited? Are we excited? Yes.
Was that a
we're
question?
Excited. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not... Look, I've edited a lot of these. I'm tired. I don't know why I'm doing this again. Yep, so after this noise, we're going to come back and you're going to hear my voice and then other voices. Hopefully, that will work.
Every guy in this room is staring at you right now. maybe they're staring at you. Or not. Maybe they're jealous of you. I'm just a girl, not a threat. Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
All right, so we are nearing the end of this Big Red Barrel UK E3 podcast. You may notice my voice has gone a little bit weird because it is 3:30 in the morning here in the UK, and we have just finished watching the PlayStation conference. I'm Coleman. I am joined by Alex once more.
Hello, and the last of butts.
And like the ghost of PlayStation podcast past, we got Pacman Polar Bear.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, he said the thing. Okay, dudes, we've got
And dudettes. Thank you very much.
Dudes and dudettes, if you like. I don't like to. I don't see gender, Alex. I don't live by that spectrum. Okay, so what the hell was that?
I was just about to say, it wasn't really a conference because it didn't all take place in the same the same stage, and except for at the very beginning, no one from PlayStation really said anything to us. I mean, he came on stage before the Last of Us trailer came on, and then he came and talked for a second after that, and then we saw some randos just talking at a desk for a little bit, and then it was just trailers and whatnot. I don't know if we call it a conference.
I think you'll find one of those randos is Ryan Clements of formerly of IGN, and now with the shaven head has a very strong look. I don't know what it is about that man, but he's very good looking.
I did. You know what? I thought I recognized him. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is if you're starting to go bald, just shave your head. Don't halfway it.
It's a sexy look. Come join my cult.
The weird thing was that the whole thing kicked off with the whole, like welcome to church, the weird church talk, and you could feel the crowd being like a little uncomfortable when he kept leaning back into the church and like my congregation talk. Not that I have anything against churches or congregations or anything, but it was strange, and I thought it would directly tie into something that was going to happen on stage, but no, he just wanted to use that as his analogy for talking to PlayStation fans. It was strange.
Before we go through all the show itself, we talk about the overall, which I think we've done now, and then what we were kind of looking forward to going in, and what we're now looking forward to now we finish with the conference. So I'll start with you, Alex.
I was looking forward to mostly to try to understand what the hell Death Stranding was about.
Good luck with that.
You'll get that game in your hands and you still won't know.
Yeah, now that I've watched a bit of a playthrough and a demo of the gameplay, I feel like I have a slightly better idea, but there is still a lot of WTFs and question marks in my head, so I guess I'm still looking forward to understanding what the hell that game is about now. Even still, so, it's kind of like you have to give them that. They managed to tell you something without really telling you anything, and you're like, I kind of get it, but what's it about anyway? This is supposed to be a separate prize for this kind of, I don't know, demo.
I'd say, the thing I was looking for most was Ghost of Tsushima. The trailer they showed off last year was, obviously just a cinematic for the most part. But my younger brother studied Japanese history in university, and I happened to be living with him at the time. The game is set in a real historical moment when the Mongols tried to invade Japan. At least it seems to be centered on the beginning of that time period. So I remember reading his history books and chatting to him about it, and it was really awesome. And then the fact that they had the game set there, and then they showed gameplay, and it was gorgeous. And there's that part in it where all I wanted to see from that game was, I want to see a samurai hold his sword at his side and wait till the guy moves and just kill him with one blow, because that's quintessential Last Samurai, 47 Ronin type shit. And when they did that, I was like, yes. But now that I've seen what they had on offer, I think Spider-Man's the game I'm most looking forward to now, because it's been so long since, people say Spider-Man 2 was the best Spider-Man game, but that's only because it was the best Spider-Man game out of a boatload of crap. It wasn't that good. It was just the best of what we had been given up till now.
And that's a bit of the nostalgia goggles on. Personally, I think Web of Shadows is the better one, but hey. Okay, so on the way in, I was really looking forward to hopefully getting a release date for Dreams and getting a sort of, the definitive close to launch trailer sort of thing, because it's been a while. They revealed Dreams initially at the PlayStation reveal, and we still have not got anything conclusive on it other than it's a thing you make games with. And I was looking to see more about that. Obviously,
I was surprised
we didn't
it wasn't
get that.
there.
No, it was there. But we got Stingers, the little musical things. That was Dreams. But
that's what I was about to say. What was with the weird animations in between? So that was Dreams, but they just did that in lieu of showing a full.
Exactly.
Strain.
Even on the way in, there was, I don't know if you guys logged on just before the thing started, but they had a little splash screen with little Dreams characters, and then the tiny little robots who they've used in the PSVR software and the PlayStation camera software. So a lot of that was Dreams stuff as well. So it was a little bit of a letdown for me in the Dreams department, but I'm still confirmed I like Spider-Man. I think we've seen a bit too much of that game now, though. I just want to play it, and I could, that whole battle of all the different villains coming out at once. That's something I really could have done with seeing for myself as I'm playing the game. Now that I know that's a thing that happens, that's kind of taken a moment away from me, sadly. But I'm still solidly into that game. Can't wait for it. I love Spider-Man games. I've played, all the bad ones. I know which ones have the good and bad elements. So we'll see what happens when that comes out. I'm looking forward to it. Onto the show itself, as we say, they made a whole church facade. It was to emulate the area in The Last of Us 2 where Ellie is dancing with his new girlfriend.
But was it? I mean, that just looked like a tent full of people dancing. I don't know if it was really churchy.
I think it was a church area that a church tent that they then set for whatever that those people are now dancing.
They set up the church for the lesbian kiss.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
For the double whammy. It was great. It was so great.
All's fair in love and post-apocalyptic warfare, kissing. I don't know. But, it was an interesting thing. And when they turned the lights on, I thought, this is a very strange place for them to be holding a press conference. And it doesn't, it didn't look like a tent. It looked kind of like a wood shack that they were all cramped into. And then when they revealed what was going on, and then they then moved to the larger stadium later. But it was an interesting way of doing it. The demo itself, we were led with a cutscene that led into gameplay and then back to a cutscene. If the game actually plays like that, I will eat my desk. That's how confident I'm pretty sure that was a scripted thing going on. But hey, what were you guys' thoughts on Last of Us 2 then?
I love the way they started the show off with it, and I really loved because I know we've had gay characters in video games before, and I know there's been a couple times where we've actually seen gay characters kiss or even make love before in a game, but it's usually been trapped in a really poorly animated, dragon-esque, their bodies don't quite fit together properly way.
Wait. Was that a dig at Dragon Age Inquisition?
Well, Dragon Age Inquisition was a good game, but it did look weird when they were kissing each other, right? Like it looked like their lips didn't quite fit together properly. It was like they're two pieces of Lego that don't go together.
It's like the kid with the two dolls going, now kiss.
Yeah, that depended on which characters did that, because they had to account for all the different races, which were different heights and shapes and etc. Anyway, sorry. My apologist has to squiz in.
Yeah, no, you're right. But with this, since it was they spent all that time making their beautiful cutscenes, that was a really probably the most prominent gay lesbian kiss in video games ever, and it was really, really, really nice. And then it transitions immediately to like this brutal knife to the face attack, which he just kills this dude, and then it's just like hardcore stuff, her killing all these people. I don't know. I mean, I suspect, like you do, that a lot of it wasn't truly 100% representative gameplay, but the first Last of Us had a lot of even when you were playing, there was a lot of like automatic animations depending if you moved through certain areas. So maybe because there was a lot of what seemed to be automatic animations going on as they were playing that demo. I don't know if I'd put my money down saying that was 100% true, 100% gameplay, but it could, some of that stuff could still be in the game, like the automatic, grabbing of the arrows
don't get me wrong,
whatnot.
I think some of it will be in there, but I'm pretty sure that was a pre-scripted thing.
Yeah, and then the other thing was, internet comments and Twitter is just, you just say, woman or black or something on the internet and people just lose their goddamn minds. But it seems like a lot of people, even legit fans, never played the Left Behind DLC from the first one, which is a travesty because it was arguably one of the best pieces of expansion content for a video game of all time. And they were completely unaware that she was gay. And I was like, yeah, welcome to the party, pal. That's great.
Yeah, I do have to add, and again, I have no idea, probably some of it was scripted, but what amazed me is actually the level of detail that they added to it, that whether it's scripted or not was just completely impressive. That, if someone shot her with an arrow, she was there to pull the arrow out of her while she was in the hiding, and little details like that you kind of, when you play video games, you almost take for granted, oh, you got shot, well, I guess that meter is going to climb all the way, your health meter is going to climb all the way back up, and it'll be just fine. Whereas in this one, it actually seemed to affect, the health meter stayed that way, whatever damage she took affected her, and she reacted to it in some appropriate way, and all that squeezing for different shelves. Like, it was so unbelievably detailed and thought through. And I think that it shows the absolute detail and masterpiece that the scripted kind of narrative adventure experiences that Naughty Dog creates can actually take advantage to, that the fight that, I don't know, sometimes you just don't even think about it, but this one was, because it had so many little points and little kind of things that you take for granted, but they didn't. They actually thought and added a little details that really brought that 5 to something possibly generic and oh, this is the fight like any other, and brought it to next level. And I thought that was really impressive.
I loved when the dude looked under the car, or the woman looked under the car, and she saw her, and she's like, pow. And I mean, mind you, she she might have just not had enough bullets, but I'm pretty sure she ran out of, the gun had X amount of bullets, and she ran out of bullets pretty quickly. And then she immediately had to go for the arrows and everything else.
Yeah, because she found a body and she had to pick up the arrows because she ran out of bullets, and that's when she went afterwards.
And in the first one, you could do that sort of run and pick up a brick and throw it as you were moving, and I like that little. I mean, it was a really strong way to start the show. Like this, I mean, I think it's, and it set the tone for the rest of the show. As messy as it seemed to be, they seemed to be devoted to let's show gameplay, and they showed gameplay for almost everything they had. I'd say 80% of what they showcased today had some sort of gameplay element to it, which is a nice change of pace from what we usually get.
See, okay, so here's my thoughts. As much as I appreciate their whole kind of new attitude this year, where they're like, okay, there's 4 games and we're gonna go really in depth with them, I'm kind of with Coleman, where he was like, oh, I'm not sure I wanted to see that much of a Spider-Man. And that's how I felt about every time we got half through for the demo. I'm like, okay, this looks great. This looks beautiful. I get what it says, but now I think you're showing me too much. I'm not sure I wanted to see that whole fight in The Last of Us. I'm not sure I wanted to see, that fight in the Spider-Man, or even in Ghost of Tsushima. It was just a bit too much, and I kind of get where they're going with it. But as a player who might want to experience those scenes for the first time, I'm almost like, this looks great. I saw it enough. Now I just want to turn away and not see any more of it.
Yeah, well, it's a double-edged sword, because if all you show is cinematics, then all you show is cinematics, and if you show too much gameplay, you risk you run the risk of spoiling a big moment in the games, right? But you also don't want to show gameplay from a boring segment, right? So it's like, what do you do? You can't really win. I mean, I'm on both camps. I don't know where I stand.
Yeah, I think it's really tough, and they've done a great job considering, but I did try to switch off kind of as soon as I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to show me. This looks great. Okay, I'm going to look at my notepad and do some notes and not look too much at the TV screen, because I actually want to experience it.
Yeah, I do wish it had been, a more condensed, focused, press conference like they usually do. Although I do, not that I'm not missing people in suits from Sony executives coming out on stage to talk to me for 20 minutes out of an entire show. I'm glad that was gone. And they showed, like Tetris Effect and Days Gone and Twin Mirror and Ghost Giant and Beat Saber in the countdown to E3 they did earlier in the week. So they sort of got some of the trailers out of their way. Although they did re-show them during this presser anyway.
So after the Last of Us section, they've moved out of the 10 and we have been moved over to what will later become the post-show, but they've had a little intermission to go through things like the Call of Duty trailer and some other bits, and then moved back into the arena where we got to see Ghost of Tsushima.
Can I just add before we go to Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah.
So Black Ops 1, or first Black Ops, was legitimately the only Black Ops or Call of Duty game that I played for extended length of time. So when they said, oh, those maps are marched, I'm like, I played this one, and I'm actually like, yay, excited, because I know these are the only maps I know.
Black Ops 3 is a bonus game on
yeah, PS Plus.
PS Plus, so I might play a Black Ops game.
Yeah, I'm so excited because I only recently bought it because I wanted to play the whole zombies expansion that I couldn't without buying Black Ops 3 games.
Oh no, we can play zombies!
Yeah, and they also said that confirmed that New Game Plus is coming to God of War.
Good. I haven't finished the regular game, but okay. I know there are many that have. So anyway,
yeah, I binged it to platinum. So, I couldn't stop myself.
So for Ghost of Tsushima, I'd completely forgotten this was a Sucker Punch game for one. So I'm instantly more excited about this game. We actually got to see gameplay for the first time, which was nice. As you were saying earlier, Pacman, it is it's a very good looking game.
Oh, it's beautiful, and the leaves and everything falling. It's just like, oh man, it looks like the color version of all my favorite, classic Japanese samurai movies growing up. Like I've watched, 47 Ronin and all the way up to, I think the last really great one was probably 13 Assassins and all that other stuff. And it just looked, and like I said before, it had the swordman, the samurai fight where he waits for the guy to move and then just boom. Because samurai fights aren't the sort of like Hollywood sword fight, like ting 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 ting, and they just keep flicking their swords at each other. It's like one or two or three moves, and then you're down because you're fighting a swordsmaster, right?
Yeah, lots of kind of step forward, step back, very very kind of faking the way they take a sword swipe and then pull back and before taking an actual strike.
And that fight at the end against the woman whose name I can't remember was really really. I mean, it looked beautiful, but it looked deadly. I hope that the actual sword combat when you're playing is nuanced. Like I don't want a lot of automated systems. Like I want to be a swordsman.
Yeah, you don't want to just bash one button until it connects to another sword. You want to actually think of the moves and the combos.
And the fact that it's set in a real a real historic time. I mean, I'm sure it's going to have some fantastical elements to it.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the giant crab.
Yeah, I mean, but the Mongols did land, I think like 1,000 soldiers and slaughtered a whole bunch of people on Tsushima. So that actually happened, and there was a big battle. So, I mean, it's such a beautiful departure from what we expected from that studio.
And it was really cool, just to sort of add to the look of the game with the autumn leaves and things. The firework that started coming in at the end as well, that just looks so good as well. Just having a fight with this fire slowly escalating around you.
Oh, so pretty.
Loved it.
Do you remember what fire used to look like when we all started playing video games, where it was really just three colors in a mesh that just waved back and forth over each other?
Yeah, a couple of wobbly pixels.
Yeah.
Then we got the first of the few little pieces of Dream with something singing or playing guitar. I can't really remember.
They spliced the animations in between all the transitions between games.
Now, then it said Made with Dreams, and I instantly thought this was a little tease leading into the trailer for Dreams, and what we got was the trailer for Control, and I went, bloody hell, you can make some amazing looking games with Dreams.
Yeah.
But no, this was this is the new game from Remedy, Control, and it looks like this weird fever dream part Inception, part Existenz, if you can remember that awful film.
Yeah.
MC Escher type rooms spinning around you and horrors and all sorts. It looks so good.
It's not really my cup of tea. But I mean, they only really, except for it was one of 4 games that they showed during this whole thing that were not PlayStation exclusive. So I mean, it definitely has its fan, but Control is multi-platform. So is Twin Mirror and Beat Saber.
But the interesting thing about Control is it's a Remedy game that isn't a Microsoft exclusive.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, it's sort of a coup that now they're on Sony's stage.
Yeah, and I think that's why they got such a big cheer from the audience.
One of us.
Gobble, gobble. Alex, any thoughts on Control?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm with Pacman here. Looks awesome, just not a thing that I would play.
Ooh, okay.
I know.
I gotta admit, I'm a little bit dubious following Quantum Break, but I still have faith in the studio, so we'll see. Resident Evil 2.
Oh, God.
I'm all in.
So, just to give a context, because we're a bunch of nerds, we're having a little E3 viewing party, and I don't think a single game resulted in so many oh my gods in our room as the remake of Resident Evil 2.
It took me a minute to get it, because I saw Leon, and I thought, I completely forgot they were doing this remake, because they announced it like 2 years ago and showed us nothing. And I thought this was like, this is a bit quick for Resident Evil 8. So I was just waiting for the first person start. Oh, and Leon's in Resident Evil 8 as well. And then I suddenly twigged and went, oh, it's the Resident Evil 2 remake. I can't wait to replay this. I love Resident Evil 2.
But when it started, we were like, is this VR? This looks like VR. Oh, it's like a rat simulator. Okay, you're playing a rat. And they were like, hang on. As soon as you see Leon, it was just like, around the room. Okay, we may be drinking, but still people are very excited about that.
It was hella gross too when that zombie was eating that dude.
Oh yeah.
It was like
pulling the flesh.
My inability to handle zombies is well documented. The closest I've ever came to getting through a whole zombie-ish game is The Last of Us, and you could even make the case that those are sort of like sub-zombies. But I have no, Resident Evil's fantastic series, I'm sure, but I ain't playing it. No.
That's fair. It ain't for everyone. What I will say is where Resident Evil 2 had a very kind of Romero inspiration feel to it. The zombies are there, but they're passable. You run around them most of the time, or they're very slow and lumbering. This one had a lot more of a kind of darkened horror to it. Everything's very, very dark and wet and visceral. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and it's updated to the Resident Evil 4 over-the-shoulder camera styles rather than the tank controls, which, while hilarious, were very bad. So, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Trover Saves the Universe, the latest from Squanch Tendo. Well, they've now changed their name, haven't they?
I think so.
Yeah, because they were worried about legal ramifications. I've completely forgotten what the name of the new studio is, but Squanch something or other. Trover Saves the Universe. It's Justin Roiland. It's the guys who worked on Stanley Parable.
Oh yes,
right.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be interesting. It looks very Justin Roiland-y, ad-lib, sound awkward, weird animation.
Not the top of my list. We mentioned they showed the trailer for Days Gone leading up to E3. They showed some gameplay in a new trailer. I'm surprised, but I'm still surprised Days Gone didn't get main press conference time, because that's still a big exclusive for Sony, and they didn't think it deserved to be counted among the big 4 they were going to talk about. It's strange.
They said they were focusing on the big 4, and people assumed this was one of the big 4.
Yeah.
So. It's weird that they did that.
I mean, the gameplay in the new trailer for Days Gone looks great. It's just weird. I just thought it was weird that it wasn't part of the big push today.
I'm wondering if it's not performing the way they're expecting, so it's kind of being pushed aside a little bit quietly. And it, it may very well not be. It may be performing great, and it may be a great game. But when you do something like that, it doesn't spell good news, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah. Is it just me, or is a lot of things like leaning to well, I mean, it's not just me, but a lot of things are leaning on survival, horror, sub-horror type genres lately. Like, there's a lot of really dark stuff coming out.
From PlayStation especially, yeah.
Yeah. Mind you, as long as there's no zombies in it, I'm okay.
But talking of dark games,
did
you see that Pirates of the Caribbean is in Kingdom Hearts?
See, I've tried so hard as a JRPG fan, and all my friends are JRPG fans, and they talk about it all the time. And I've tried to play Kingdom Hearts, but it's so just bad, bonkers, insane. The story makes Metal Gear look like a paperback that you can read in an afternoon. It's just it looked pretty. It looked really, really, really pretty, and I'm sure it's going to be really great. But we need to talk about how poor they did the voiceover, because if you're going to dub something that's in Japanese, you're sort of forced into limiting what you can say in English to the mouth movements of the characters on screen, and it becomes doubly hard when you do it with a video game. I don't think they even tried. The voice audio seemed to be layered directly on top of what was already there, so it sounded off the whole time. It's just strange.
That's pretty much what the entire series is like, sadly. So I like Kingdom Hearts, and I like it does always appeal to me, but I've never got past the first game. Long story, but whenever I see the trailers and I see things like the characters interacting with Pirates of the Caribbean or Toy Story, Frozen recently was the one that kind of got me going. I do get excited for the game, and then they jump into the actual story, which is rubbish. It is so rubbish, and everyone's wearing the bloody zip-up leather trench coats with the hoods on them and talking really just such bad voice acting back and forth. That it just reminds me, I'll spend £50 on this game and we'll get bored and stop playing, but I'll have a good time with the Disney bits for about a couple of hours. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited and I'm not. Like yesterday, I was way in on it and sold on it, and then the more times I see the story today, over the last couple of days, I'm going, yeah, but I'm just not going to finish it.
Yeah.
But of course, we know Alex loves Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, sure. Especially
and
after
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh God, absolutely love that Johnny Depp. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen this trailer now, or versions of the same-ish trailer with different bits cut and through in 3 different conferences right now, and I've had enough.
Yeah,
because this did seem like the same previous trailer. They just swapped out Frozen for Pirates of the Caribbean there, but it was an interesting way of seeing the way the characters adapt for different cartoons and things that they're jumping into, where most of it has been Disney computer animation and Pixar that we've seen. It's been kind of looking the same, but now it's gone to a live action thing. You've seen how the detail suddenly increases on Donald and Goofy and Sora. So that was an interesting thing to see, especially with the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, but that's another one. Doesn't it just look weird when your animation style is inconsistent?
Well, I mean, the animation style's changed a fair bit game to game since the first one, right?
Yeah, but in the same game.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It does look a little...
It's a similar thing they did with Lego Dimensions recently. Your characters, you could have a Ghostbuster character who's meant to be like a live action thing, and then you put it into the Simpsons world, and it would adapt the textures of that model to fit in with the world. I like that idea.
But you see, I think my point is that the model of the main character, or what I presume is the guy you play with, I don't think he goes through as many changes from world to world to make this more just significant or immediately obvious that he's in a different world. So he kind of looks the same whether he is in Frozen or in Pirates of the Caribbean, whereas the models of the actual characters in those universes are dramatically different.
I see. So, rather than looking like this anime character jumping into the real world, he's still looking like an anime character with high-res textures rather than looking like a human, and next to a human it's going to look daunting. Yeah, I can get that.
You know what threw me for a loop? I was talking to my buddy, and his son was on the Skype call when we were talking, and his son's 7, maybe, I think he's 7 or 8, and he had no idea who Donald Duck or Goofy or any of those older. Like, he knew who Mickey Mouse was because Mickey Mouse is still a prominent part of the Disney marketing. But it's weird to think that there's a young generation that doesn't know who Donald Duck and Goofy is, and he just found out, about Huey, Dewey, and Louie because they brought back DuckTales just recently, which is a fantastic cartoon. It's my favorite kids show. But
Uncle Donald's in that, so
but
he'll learn.
It doesn't click in with them, and I'm like, man, that's weird. Like, it's just weird to me that there might be kids whose first exposure to the classic Disney characters is Kingdom Hearts. Like, that seems so backwards in my brain.
All right, let's move on to Death Stranding, because now we've had another trailer with some gameplay in it. Everything's starting to click into place, and we all know what this game is about.
Yeah, it's about a delivery man versus invisible monsters.
I did feel for him where he was like carrying like bajillions of bags on his back and crossing that very rickety bridge, and I was like,
he's like, oh, something bad's happening. I better plug in my baby. Like, what is going on?
It was the bit where you say he's carrying all the boxes, and at one point we see hover boxes, so it wasn't all bad, but there was a part where he's walking through the river with this big heavy bag on his back and the crates and stuff, and he slips over, and then you see the boxes start floating away. I'm like, I feel really bad for him. That just looks like a hassle.
But like, I know he delivers stuff because they make a point of that, and I know there's invisible things that apparently walk on their hands. And there's a baby, and a girl talks to him who he apparently doesn't recognize who she really is, and her jacket gets spiky sometimes. I mean, that's really all I got.
Yeah.
Right, Alex is going to explain all of this to us now.
Break it down.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so there is lots of landscapes, and he really needs to cross them. Like, it's very important that he walks through them. No idea why. I think he's trying to find out. He's looking for something. Maybe part of himself. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's looking for, the mother of his baby that he's caring about. I have no idea.
Because there was a shower scene. How long do you think it'll be before someone finds unused art assets of Norman Reedus' junk that they're going to leak to the internet, just like a David Cage game?
Yeah, I was going to say this is Hideo Kojima, not David Cage.
Yeah.
One day there's going to be like this museum of forbidden rendered junk.
Oh man, but
celebrity Ghiblies.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that's Norman Reedus. Like, it looks really like it's him. Like, it's like they didn't change his hair or anything. He looks like he just like jumped into the screen.
I want to see more trailers of the Mad Mikkelsen stuff, because we've only had one of those, and loads of Norman Reedus thus far.
I want to see the adventures of Baby in a tank. Or just a series of.
I will add though. I thought that was such a cool small touch that they kind of showed the baby in the womb first, and he used just the butt, and then he did the thumbs up, and I was like, okay, they're rolling with the whole internet memes or whatever.
Did you notice that the baby winked at us this time too?
Oh, did you? I can't remember. I think I was laughing at the butt too much.
Well, the original he gave us the thumbs up, and this time he winked at us when he rolled over. It was like, no way.
Okay.
He knows we see it, and it's strange. Yeah.
Yay! Fourth wall break. Woohoo!
I just thought I just get this idea that Hideo Kojima's like, yeah. Now start the trailer with a baby butt. They'll eat it up. They don't know why. Let's just mess with them now. So, also, let's stick another celebrity. Let's just keep sticking celebrities in there. It'll be brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, they did have me at the butt, so.
Oh, good. Neo 2.
I wasn't skilled enough to finish the first one.
Yeah, I didn't even. I tried the trailer, which I heard apparently the trailer was horribly balanced in comparison to the full game, and they made a lot of changes before it was released, but I didn't get along with it very much. It's like a Souls-like, but I just found the controls too difficult.
I thought it was, when I played it, I mean, it looks beautiful, and the controls got really good and sharp, and it was really fun. It's just so, I mean, it's just like all the Souls games. It's really difficult, and I don't handle anxiety well, and it's just like, I get frustrated easily, and I'm like, I'm going to go play something a little that I can save quickly and restart without having to scream.
Yeah.
But the second one looked cool.
What's interesting about this especially is the first Neo was originally the PS3 game that didn't release. They announced it, and then they put it aside for about 10 years, and they went, oh yeah, all right, finish that and put it on the PS4. They did that, and then the sequel comes out, what, a year later? It's like one of these things is not like the other. All right, let's move on to Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I was wondering which one of you would do it. Both
of
apparently.
us. Sorry. Yep.
It's always a treat if you go back and you dig up the 1960s and 70s Spider-Man cartoons and show them to someone who's never seen them, and they're like, "Why is he always going to different dimensions and fighting pterodactyls? Like, what's going on?"
The best one is because this is basically what I think. If you show that to any kind of 20 something, they'll go, "Oh my god, someone animated the memes." Because that's all the original Spider-Man's scene for the 70s cartoon scene for is the two Spider-Men pointing at each other or falling off a cliff or something.
Reusing the same animations over and over again. Yeah. But this game looked bonkers.
Yeah, this one looks amazing, and not an old school theme to be heard. But this we got to see a whole level on the raft. Really interesting. The raft is the prison that is created to contain superhumans to stop them breaking in or breaking out. However, Electro can't stop him. Once Electro gets in, you're screwed. He's taking everyone out. He's helping everyone escape, and then we see what is kind of an updated Sinister Six, not the original lineup, but 6 villains essentially, all causing havoc for Spider-Man, leading to him getting the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah, and they all look badass because it was what Scorpion, Electro, Vulture, Rhino, Mr. Negative, and the other guy,
Jeff Bridges.
Damn it, Jeff Bridges. But it looked real. I mean, really, really, really good. And they did acknowledge that you'll be able to toggle how much of the HUD you'll see when you play.
Oh, good.
So you'll be able to. It looks like you'll be able to turn stuff off because I don't know about you guys, but I've really liked that trend in games as you've been able to change how much shows up on your HUD. Like, I like to, once I've learned the controls and everything, I don't really, and I know where I'm going on the map, I don't need all that stuff cluttering my view.
One of the recent ones I'm playing is Onrush, and they have that ability to hide your HUD, and now I'm used to it. I'm thinking of taking that away and adding a little bit of challenge to it. So, yeah, I like the idea.
Yeah, we were similarly talking about that in a Ghost of Tsushima, and I don't know if they've taken it off just for this trailer, but it seems like similar in God of War, you can hide that whole thing, and especially in that game it shows because it's just so beautiful, and you don't want any other non-game related bits on your screen when you're playing it. I think it breaks the immersion a little bit. So yes, that's good that they do give more options to hide it away.
Yeah, they showed directly after the PlayStation trailer, they showed a live game demo of Spider-Man, and he toggled on all of the HUD elements. So there's a lot that you can put on your screen, like map and text prompts and directions and all sorts of stuff that can appear on screen. But if you watch the demo the main demo they showed, the only prompts were for the sort of quick timey event things where, when he was doing that chase, when he's chasing Electro up the building, you could still see the press square prompts on the screen. They were just small. So I mean, I like that. I mean, and like we were saying earlier, the only thing I didn't really, that's kind of questionable, is they kind of spoil that big fight between the 5 of them.
Yeah, it's something I would have looked forward to discovering in the game for myself. It's a big moment. It leaves you with a little bit of a teaser. Who is the one that's organized these 6 together?
Yeah, but at the same time,
Kingpin.
it allowed them to sort of show off the the villains of the game in all in one place without having to sort of find bits and pieces of each individual one to sort of piece together into a trailer. So it's good and it's bad, but man, it really looks like we're getting a good Spider-Man game. Like, oh man. And I don't hate the voice of Spider-Man.
No, he's really good. Like, well, they usually cast the Spider-Man pretty well. Neil Patrick Harris has done it in the past for Spider-Man games. Whoever they got in for the Andrew Garfield step-ins wasn't so good, but they otherwise they pretty much get them spot on.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man either, but that's neither here nor there. He's not a video game guy, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Spider-Man, yes, looks great. I've got, very little... No, I mean, look, it's probably the only Spider-Man game that it looks so good that it actually made me want, maybe I'll try and play it, and all the kind of fighting stuff and using your environment to fight that they've showed before is super cool, but I'm still a bit on and off just because it's just not a type of game that I'd usually play.
Yeah. I was hoping that some of the stuff that was missing from the anemic Square Enix presser was going to show up at Sony. Like, I was hoping maybe Sony's the one who's got Final Fantasy VII news, but no.
I don't think we're seeing Final Fantasy VII for a little while, as the whole rumors with the studio kind of scrapping the internal designs and starting again. But what I was more I got more excited for Spider-Man than I should have been, because it showed up the raft and I was like, oh, they're going to show the Square Enix Avengers game.
Yeah, that's what all of us thought as well.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man was there, like, oh yeah, Spider-Man game, forgot about that. All right, then it went into the post-show. As Pacman said, a lot of it is they're showing Ghost of Tsushima, they're showing Spider-Man. From Software did tease a new game that none of us can pronounce, so that was nice. And we don't know what it's about either, but it looks very whimsical. And
yeah, Daracine, the whimsical From Software game. I think people internally are like, hey, listen, I love making Soul games, but like I need to do something where we don't kill the player every 5 seconds.
So sometimes you need to render a doll on a table. Yeah. It was funny because they went, and we've got a new game from Software. Here, let's show that off. I went, oh, we are actually getting Bloodborne. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
So that was funny. All right. So that is about everything in PlayStation. The next show we're going to be doing, and the final show, most likely, is going to be Nintendo. That's going to be myself. It's going to be Pacman, and I believe Rik is joining us as well.
I believe so.
I believe so, unless he's forgotten, which is quite likely, but we'll see. Anyway, Alex, thanks for jumping on.
No, thanks for having me.
And I'll talk to you in a bit, Pacman.
Yes, indeed.
And we'll be back after this noise. It won't be that noise.
When Olimar gets damaged, you'll see a crack in his helmet. But don't worry, it'll get fixed up right away.
So just over 2 hours of length of this podcast. I'm pretty sure that's when Nintendo started talking about Smash Brothers, and now they've finished. So we're going to talk about Nintendo to top off this massive E3 podcast. I am joined once again by Pacman Polar Bear.
What's going on, everybody?
And Rik.
Hello again, Barrelites.
Barrelites.
I'm going to make it a thing.
I heard it. I've already edited
like
that section. That did make me smile. Barrelites. It sounds like... Yeah, Doctor, I've got this burning sensation. Oh, you got barrelites, mate. You got barrelites. You want to put a powder on that? Anyway, Nintendo, that was a thing, and most of it was dedicated to Smash Brothers, but there are other sections. So before we jump into the thing as a whole, Pacman, what did you think of the show as a whole, and what are the things you were looking forward to going in, and what are you looking forward to now you're coming out?
I mean, overall, it was a nice, really tight package. It's probably the most cohesive of all the press conferences that we've had, even though it wasn't really a press conference per se, since it was just an amalgam of trailers with a little bit of cutaways to Reggie and others. But it was nice. It played. It certainly, they were certainly catering to the fans this time around. So it was a good showing. And it wasn't like a 2-hour marathon of just stuff. I think going in, the thing I was looking forward to the most was some sort of detail on the new Fire Emblem. And then we got that, and I was like, yes, that was really awesome. But then they started showing Smash Brothers stuff, and I'm like, I'm not even really that big in Smash Brothers, because I basically skipped the Wii and the Wii U generation, and I was never a Smash Bro fan way back in the GameCube days. So like that whole universe is just, I've only ever watched it in YouTube. But they just inundated us with so many characters and everything else, I'm like, oh man, I think I want to play Smash Bros. Now.
Yeah, one of us.
I agree with what Pacman said about it being a tight package. Like all directs are really just kind of like, here's a game, here's a game, here's a game. Got super excited for Overcooked 2.
Really?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one. My girlfriend's obsessed with it. Like, she still plays it now. Whenever she's got spare 5 minutes, she'll put the PlayStation on, try and beat her own scores. So the fact that there's a new one coming, got some new levels, got some new challenges for her, it's great. If we can get through that, I'm going to marry her, because that is...
That's quite the achievement.
Yeah, that game tests your relationship. Fire Emblem looked great as well. And then it got to Smash, and as much as I appreciate what they did, because it was a very Smash-centric one, this is the direct that Smash fans have been wanting since the reveal. I'm not a Smash fan, so I just started getting bored. Like, it looks cool, and I think having all the characters in there from every Smash game was really cool, and yeah, I would have been happy with it ending there and then moving on to some other stuff, but when they just started going through every character, I was like, is this really happening? And then it had like 3 false ends. Like, it ended more times than Lord of the Rings, I think.
Return of the Smash.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, and then one more thing, and then one more thing, and then one more thing. And I'm like, oh my God, please. It looks fun, but yeah, that's not for me. The rest of it, though, was very cool.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, I thought it was a very strange tone it went for because, as you say, it was very compacted. It was nicely organized, edited well. And then we got to this whole Smash Brothers thing that just felt longer than the rest of the Nintendo Direct itself. And I am a Smash Brothers fan, and I thought that was too much. I would have watched an entire video on that, but it's very strange because when the previous Smash Brothers game came out, they did a Nintendo Direct solely based for Smash Brothers. And they didn't with this one. They dedicated half a direct to it for some reason. So all these people that are waiting for big Nintendo news, they got some Nintendo news and then a lot of Smash. And I saw everyone kind of fading out on Twitter and, disagreeing with this and go, I do like Smash and this is too much. Or I don't like Smash and I don't care and I'm getting bored by this. And then it got to the end and it kind of felt like a big, what? That was it? That was just mostly Smash.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it deflated at the end.
Yeah, I think if they went, okay, new Smash Brothers on the Switch, it's the Wii U port, but we're going to add a bunch of stuff to it. Here's a bunch of stuff we're adding to it. Find out more, on a separate video or something. That I would have been fine, and I would have watched that video. It would have been great. But I was sat there with Tim and Alex watching it, and I was loving it, and they were bored out their minds. Going, it just keeps, it won't stop. How many characters are in this game? It's insane. But yeah, I enjoyed that part of it anyway. So, on the way in, I wanted to know about Smash. I came out knowing about Smash. I was happy. I thought it was very weird that they put that much focus on every little detail of Smash, and it's not out till December. It seemed like that was a lot of information for something that should be coming out in the next month or so. I was halfway in between that thing of thinking they were going to go, and that was Smash Brothers, and it's out now. So that would have been awesome. But
yeah, I was really expecting them to say now because, with the exception of a couple titles, almost everything they talked about is coming out this year.
Okay, so down to the show proper. I won't go through these in any particular order. I'm going to go through the big ones, and then we'll just list off the smaller ones at the end. Super Mario Party. You can now combine your Switches to make strange expanding boards by the looks of it. And
tank battle arenas and stuff.
Yeah, the little tank battle arena, so kind of playing it on an L shape because you put the two screens together. I'll be interested to see how that configures if there's more than one screen you're able to use. That looks interesting. Kind of fallen off Super Mario Party over the years.
Yeah.
Have tried to get back into them. Maybe now everyone owns a Switch, this will be the one to grab me.
I never played I played them, but I don't play party games. That's
fair.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I've never played a Mario Party game.
Oh, man. I used to live in a big flat and have a lot of people over, and we'd always play Super Mario Party games, and then those turned into Rock Band nights, and then those, I love me a party game, me. But kind of gone off the Mario parties over the years, but it'll be interesting to see. That's coming out on the 5th of October. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is getting some DLC.
Yeah.
Pacman is excited.
Yeah, that looked really cool. And it was nice to see them speaking Japanese and not Northern.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The weird voiceovers.
Yeah, I love Xenoblade Chronicles too. It's great.
Fire Emblem, as you said earlier, Pacman, we've finally seen what it is. It's called Fire Emblem Three Houses on the Switch.
Yeah, oh man, it looks so good and different too. And I mean, for a long time, all they had was, on the upcoming list was just the words Fire Emblem, so you didn't really know what they were gonna do. And it's spring 2019, so it's not that far off. But I'm super jazzed. And the other thing about this press conference is, again, with the exception of a couple titles, there was no talk about 3DS specifically for anything. Even though a few of the games they're talking about are 3DS titles, but almost everything is, this is the first main entry for Switch. This is the first main entry for Switch, and I was like, nice. Yeah,
I was relieved by that because there's been a lot of emphasis on Switch and on the 3D 2DSs in previous directs, and this one it just seemed pure Switch, and that's what I want. My 3DS is long gone, so I want more about Switch. Fire Emblem, I've never really got along with the series. It's not a game for me, but that trailer alone was enough to make me go, maybe I should try get into these games, because that really did look impressive. The sort of the zoomed out map scale, then zooming suddenly into the big armies. I really like the look of that.
Yeah, the dynamic camera looked fantastic.
Yeah,
that looked really cool.
Definitely a kind of XCOM-y feel the way it did that. Also, Fortnite, the rumors are true. That is coming to the Switch today. If the podcast is out today, it's today. If not, it was yesterday. But still, it's out on the Switch. And that's a big get for Switch, because Fortnite is a massive game. It has taken over the world.
Yeah, especially for their demographic. Because, I mean, Nintendo... we're all adults, but Nintendo's demographic is definitely the younger of all of the big three, and Fortnite, is incredibly popular with the younger crowd.
I would say the dynamic they aim for is the younger crowd, but they always end up with the adults.
Well, they get that too, but I mean, the Fortnite player base is super young. Like I want to say like 10 and up, and it's a perfect fit for Switch.
Yeah. Interesting one, though, because it is a online-only game, so the Switch touts its portability.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm worried about, is that the voice communication is important, and the Switch doesn't do that well. Like, right now they only have one or two games that are actively supporting their voice chat, which you have to use your phone and a separate headset for, and it's just this huge mess. Like, how's voice communication gonna work for Fortnite? Are these
Discord?
I'm just picturing all these kids playing on their Switch and using their parents' cell phones or their cell phones, and just everything about that sounds messy.
I think it only really matters for when you're playing Team Royale. I mean, when you're playing on your own, it's not really going to matter for voice comms. And
true, but you want to play with your friends.
It seems to work okay for Splatoon 2 and things like that. I mean, they have the most roundabout and just dumb way of doing it, but I mean, if it's working for other games so far, I'm sure people will be able to do it for this.
I've used the voice chat for Splatoon, and I wouldn't say it works. It's pretty awful.
I've got a lot of friends that use they refuse to use the voice chat options for Nintendo and just use like Discord on the PC or on the phone or something alternatively. And some do the double headset thing, some don't. But yeah,
it's such a stupid way of doing it.
It is. It is a very dumb way of doing it.
What were they
I'm just
thinking?
looking forward to being sat. This is now going to be my Vita type thing of girlfriend is watching TV or girlfriend is playing her own game, and I'm just going to be sat there playing Fortnite on my Switch. So I'll be good.
I think the biggest surprise from that was that it was released today, or day of announcement. That was the nice surprise, because we've known it was coming, or we had an idea that it was coming, but the fact that they were like, yeah, it's coming, you can download it now, that was a really good move on their part, I think.
Another game that's released today is Hollow Knight, which is a nice little 2D platformer. I think this has been on Steam for a little while now.
That looks wonderful. I'm still waiting for a PS4 version, but I really want to get my hands on that.
Yeah, I really like the art style they've gone for here. It's kind of 2D animation, but there's sort of the 2D, 3D thing, but the way that things move from the foreground to from the background to the foreground, it just looks amazing. So yeah, and I do like me a challenging platformer, so this should be fun.
Yeah, it looks great.
All right. And then before we get to Smash Brothers, there's a few more things. We saw a little bit more on Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Bleh. Bleh.
Pokemon games that are created for people that have had Pokemon Go as their first game, by the looks of it.
Tentatively being renamed Pokemon Let's Buy Mew, from the looks of it.
So that's out on November 16th, and you can, if you buy the Pokeball Plus accessory, which is the small little Pokeball you pretend to throw to catch a Pokemon, you will unlock Mew.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Smash TVs again.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about it is...
It has a wrist strap.
Is that you can...
So did the Wii remote.
Yeah. But the biggest thing about it, I think, for people who've been playing Pokemon Go on their phone a lot, is you can import your Pokemon from Pokemon Go on your phone.
Yeah, I'll admit, because when it's described to me, I don't like the look of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but when I look at it and I hear it's Pallet Town, the Kanto region, all that stuff, I'm immediately more excited because it's got that retro feel for me. And then when they, and I'm still looking at it and I'm talking myself out of it, going, no, I don't need this game. I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to enjoy this game. And then I see, and you can just swap your Pokemon over that you've unlocked in Pokemon Go. I was like, I've got a lot of those.
That's the genius of this game, though, that I think, because it's not for Pokemon fans in the classical sense. It's for people who have only ever played Pokemon Go. Like, my girlfriend, Elena, she'd never played an original Pokemon game before, but she still plays Pokemon Go, so I bought her Sun or Moon, but she couldn't get into it. But this is the kind of game where people who are like that are going to get a taste of what a quote-unquote real Pokemon game's like, and then when the quote-unquote real Pokemon game comes out next year, that's going to bring in a lot more people. It's a really clever bridge idea.
Yeah, it's a really great entry point for everyone to sort of bring them into the buy two versions of two versions of the same game every year for the next 20 years, like the rest of us. I was hoping they were going to show a teaser for the core Pokemon RPG that's coming out next year, but it makes sense that they want the focus to be on Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah, because you don't want to give the message, okay, this is the Pokemon Light game, here's the hardcore one coming, just hold out for it. There's a competitive arcade Killer Queen that is coming to Switch later this year as Killer Queen Black.
Meh. There's a number of games that look like that are that genre that look better and are more highly regarded.
That's fair. I just like the song Killer Queen.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Sneaky Team 17 with Overcooked 2, as Rick said earlier, that has been announced. That is coming to Switch. I'm sure that will also be coming to every other platform as well. But the Switch is a perfect console for Overcooked. I've got the first game preloaded onto that. It's a great little party game. I do like that one.
Have they fixed the running issues with it yet?
It runs just fine in this game.
Excellent.
There was a mech game that opened up called Daemon X Machina, and that looks fantastic.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
Yeah, I love mechs, and it looks good. Yeah, it looked really good.
The lovely thing about the Switch, I'm finding, when I see games like this, I'd see them for the PlayStation or the Xbox or something and go, that looks really good, and it's like something I'd love, but I just don't have the time to sit and play it at home. Now I've got a Switch, I can play these games while I'm out and about, on commuting and stuff. Lunch breaks at work. So something like this, it just brings a smile to my face. And like, now I have the time to play it. Dragon Ball Fighters is that was rumored to be launching on the Switch. That is coming sometime this year. I'm now going to have to buy a second copy of Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yep. And they showed Octopath Traveler.
Yes, there's a demo out for that already. There's apparently a second demo coming out in July.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
It looks wicked.
Yeah, it looks wonderful.
It looks so, and I mean, Japanese naming conventions for games. It's not that like the West has the greatest names for games either. But Octopath Traveler is just strange. But I mean, it makes sense because there's 8 characters and 8 stories. I'm real because I mean I'm a sucker for all those sort of classical style JRPGs. I'm curious to see how having 8 characters and 8 stories sort of melts together into one production. Like if that'll be good or they'll all be sort of short shrift.
Have you tried the demo at all?
No, I haven't downloaded it yet. I crashed right after we recorded Sony last night.
No. I mean, they've had a demo out for months and months.
Oh no, I haven't. I didn't even think that the demo was out until now. So when I found out there was already a demo out, I felt kind of foolish.
See, it's a pretty game and one that I probably could sink my teeth into, but the demo didn't test well for me just because it's a very lengthy intro that you can't skip.
You're not the only person that said that about the demo, though. A lot of people have said there's a vertical slice of this game. That's really not the best thing they could have done for it.
Yeah, which I'm assuming that's why there's a second demo to go, try this one instead. This will get the taste out of your mouth. But it wasn't that it was so long. It was that the game, the demo crashed on me and I had to start again and go through the same intro. And it's such a long intro that I just gave up in the end and deleted it. So Octopath Traveler, it is a beautiful looking RPG and I do look forward to the actual game itself, but the first demo especially, is not a good entry point. There's also SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. That's coming sometime this year as well. No confirmed release date yet, but I'm looking forward to picking that one up because I'm way getting into my beat 'em ups lately.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
God, love my beat 'em ups. All right, so Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. They gave us a big old list of what's in there, and I'll run through these as quick as humanly possible because I did note them all down. We've got Mario updated with Cappy. We've got Samus, Kirby, Bowser. We've got Link with a Breath of the Wild costume. Donkey Kong, Fox, Falco, Marth, Zelda, Sheik, Villager, Mewtwo, Meta Knight, Sonic, Peach, Pikachu, Ice Climbers, Inkling, Captain Falcon, Zero Suit Samus, Wii Fit Trainer, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, and Pokemon Trailer, which was one character. Nez, Lucas, Ryu, Ganondorf, Ike, Cloud, Snake, Jigglypuff, Pichu, Roy, Olimar, Diddy Kong, Luciaro, Lucina, Robin, Bayonetta, Mr. Game & Watch, Greninja, Dr. Mario, Rob, Duck Hunt Pit, Dark Pit, Palantina, Corrin, Bowser Jr., Toon Link, Young Link, Keegan DDD, Rosalina and Luma, Me, Gunner Sword and Brawler, Wario, Little Mac, Pacman, Shulk, Wolf, Mega Man, Luigi and Yoshi. And then at the very end, they announced that there will be a new dark costume for Peach for Daisy. And then there'll also be Ridley from the Metroid series.
You missed the perfect opportunity to do that in the style of a Pokemon rap.
I mean, I'd edit that in, but I can't remember. There's loads of changes made to the subtle changes made to the characters, which they went through in painstaking detail, including the ones that I mentioned with those characters, but as well they've put in alternate costumes for different series of the games, some which I swear existed already. They said, oh, if you can have the Final Fantasy VII version of Cloud, but you can also have the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children version of Cloud, or Girly Cloud as I like to call him. And I swear those were the DLC for the Wii U version anyway, so I don't know why they mention it. But a lot of those characters, it seems to have updated the Wii U version with characters from the Wii version and the GameCube version that weren't included. So it's literally every character they've ever put in the game.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like, I'm like, man, are they really going to go individually and list them all one by one? I'm like, oh no, they are. And then
they did, and then they went 2 by 2, and then they went 3 by 3 for a bit.
And then they went, and now the movesets. And you're like, no.
But I mean, I think they really, because I mean, the Smash games have always been so popular, and Nintendo's never really outwardly supported that community in terms of, especially in the tournament competitive scene. They've always been sort of hands off and not really, I mean, the tournament scene basically exists because the fans were so rabid that they created one on their own without any help. And now Nintendo's slowly starting to, be like, yeah, maybe we should support this whole, competition thing for our competition game that's been super popular for 15 years. But it was cool for them to just be like, all right, stop tweeting at us, Stop giving us grief. Here, don't ever ask for us for anything ever again.
Yeah, I did see a picture of the project lead, and it just says, "Don't ask me for anything ever again."
Yeah, because they added all the characters, and then there's new locations, and then there's revamped versions of old locations. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was just crazy.
It feels like to me that they watched Infinity War, and everyone's saying Infinity War is the greatest crossover of all time, and HAL Labs were like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
I don't feel so good.
But I mean, it really was pure fan service for the hardcore, right? Like, just nonstop.
All the trophy assist stuff, that looks great as well. They've added loads of new ones to bring all these new characters in that are, which once again, it means people get a quick glimpse of Waluigi and go, Waluigi's, oh, it's a trophy, damn it.
Yeah, and they're still supporting GameCube controllers and all the amiibo figures. All of the amiibo figures attached to previous Smash games, all of them will work with this.
I'm very happy about that.
I've got to say as well, as someone who isn't interested at all in Smash, seeing Ridley was awesome.
Yeah, as well as because the pre-render trailer they made as well, it looked like Ridley killed Mario.
When he's spinning his hat on his finger.
Yeah, like he totally came in and just like murked Mega Man and Mario, and then Samus is like, I don't even need armor to kick your ass. Yeah, it was good.
But yeah, it was a massive chunk of time dedicated to Smash Brothers that really should have been a separate video, in fairness. And then immediately after the show, they start playing Ridley as well to show you how the character performs.
Yeah, and they showed off Ridley's amiibo and everything. It was cool.
It did look like Ridley's going to be the new odd job of this of this season. So that yeah. Anyway. That was everything from Nintendo.
Thanks wait, there's a couple.
Didn't we miss one?
No, there's just two things that I know will get overlooked by almost everyone, but Wasteland 2 is getting ported to
it is
the Switch. When Wasteland 2 originally released, it was really rough, and then like how some games like 6 months a year later they like sort of re-release it as like the polished game they wish they had released originally. It's really good. I love Wasteland 2, and the fact you can and it'll be perfectly playable on the Switch, because I actually ended up playing half of it with a controller myself, so it's totally doable. But that's something that you shouldn't miss out on. And Mega Man 11, which is going to be a perfect fit for the Switch, because the previous two Mega Man collections are hitting the Switch, and Mega Man X collections land in a month or so. So you can have the entire revamped best versions of all the Mega Man games on your Switch, which is where which is the system they belong on.
All right, so that is everything, absolutely everything we could handle from Nintendo Direct. I will just add that Xbox has just tweeted out to Nintendo asking if they want to play Fortnite later.
That's brilliant. That is throwing shade.
Yeah, so every platform bar PlayStation can play together. So there you go.
But let's not pretend if the situation was reversed between Xbox and PlayStation, Xbox wouldn't be doing it either.
It's PlayStation's own choice, so
really but they're the king of the mountain.
They'll cave one day.
Yeah, when they're in third place, they'll be like, "Yay, guys!"
But until then, this grueling console war must continue.
Yeah.
So many casualties.
I want to see bodies.
All right, so that is everything that Nintendo has to offer. That is everything that E3 has to offer us. Now it is time for the show floors to open, and people now we can get some sleep. So people that are there, enjoy the show. You'll be going onto the floors and going to play some cool games, and we are all the jealous. However, we will be enjoying actually catching up on some sleep now the thing is over. Not me, I got to edit this damn thing. But thank you, Rick and Pacman, for coming on.
Thank you for having me again.
Nope, thanks for having us.
I believe you're going to hear the sultry dulcet tones of Dan, and then we're going to be out of here. So goodbye.
Goodbye.
Stay frosty, everybody.
So, that's your lot. That's your news. That's your E3 goodness with the BRB squirt of goodness and stuff in it. So, hope you liked it. I know I did. It was great. I would like to just say thank you to all the people who guest hosted. So that's Jamie, Bleezey, Diarmuid, Kev, Alex, Pacman, and Rick. And of course, I'd like to say thank you to my two usual co-hosts, Tim and Coleman. And Coleman, especially because he's done yet again, week after week, another great job of editing all of this nonsense together. So go give him a pat on the back on Twitter. Talking of which, if you do want to say hello to people on Twitter, why not follow at Big Red Barrel? You can do that there, or you can go over to reddit.com/r/Big Red Barrel. We're trying to get it off the ground over there. Facebook.com, why not, /Big Red Barrel, and of course, the mothership itself, www.bigredbarrel.com. That's your lot for E3. One more year down, goodness knows what's going to be delayed into next year, and we'll just see all over again then. Well, I've been Dan, this has been Battle Royale, and until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
And your ears are quite welcome
for the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarrel.com
for more podcasts,
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
I'm delighted to be here to talk about all of the cool stuffs.
Yeah, we've got some cool news as well. And I'm going to repeat a joke that I said on last night's Rec Room as well, when they said there was no sexual content allowed in the game. I did ask if that meant that your accent was banned from Rec Room.
It was. I'm now lifetime banned. I don't know if you heard that.